I've taken a map of the entire United States where only one team will be standing by the end of the video, and if you've never seen an Imperialism before, let me explain how this map will go from 134 teams to just one. Each round I'll spin this team wheel to land on a college, and then I'll spin this directional wheel to decide where they attack. Let's say Kansas attacks Kansas State and they end up beating them. The Jayhawks would get to take all of the Wildcats' territory because the loser is always eliminated, and the winner gets all of their land as a reward. Remember, we're going to be doing this until we're down to just one college left, and it is time to start the first Imperialism on College Football 25. I've been waiting to do this. We have Ollie Gordon and Oklahoma State attacking off the bat. They're going up north, and this is a crazy first matchup. I just used Kansas as my example. At least they're going to get the home field advantage in this one, and it's taking place in their renovated stadium that was just added to the game. How I like to do this is just watch the final about minute of the game. Kansas has the ball down 6, and we've never had a college football Imperialism where the computer's actually smart, but as I'm saying that, Jalen Daniels has thrown an interception. Oklahoma State's taking it back, and I think they're going to win. It would take a real miracle for Kansas to come back down 12 with 8 seconds left. But now there's a chance that they could recover this onside kick. The Oklahoma State player misses it, but someone else picks it up. Alan Bowman's going to lead the Cowboys to a huge win. Or maybe that's more of Ollie Gordon's doing. He had a pretty good stat line. We now have to do that same process 133 more times until we know the best college in the country. And this is different than any of the ones we've done before because there's 8 new teams, including Kennesaw State, Jacksonville State, UMass, UConn, and others. Of the 8 new colleges, Liberty probably has the best chance at making a deep run, and so far we've gotten some big programs. Tennessee just got landed on, which means they're attacking, but they're going for Middle Tennessee State. They clearly have the overall advantage on the Blue Raiders, so I would have never thought Middle Tennessee State would have a lead at the end of the game. With just 57 seconds left, Nico's going to have to lead the Volunteers down the field, and on 2nd and 10 after almost throwing an interception, this time he's going to find a receiver that takes it inside the red zone. As a Kentucky fan, I don't want Tennessee to win, but it seems like they probably will. All they have to do is get into the end zone, and they just did. Never mind, apparently that football was dropped. So all of a sudden it is 3rd and 10, and Tennessee's going to throw an interception. The Volunteers are going to lose to Middle Tennessee State on the road. That is a pick 6 for Nico, and this makes me so happy to see. I cannot believe they just pulled off this upset. These are the results that we watch college football Imperialism for, though. And I actually feel bad for Tennessee fans because they either make a deep run in Imperialism or they get put out super early every single time. Nicholas Vadatillo is the legend that got the win for the Blue Raiders. And this gives my Wildcats a bit better of a chance because now we don't have to run into the risk of playing against the Volunteers. If I've noticed anything about this new game, it's that these results are more chaotic than the last one. And NCAA Football 14 was already wild enough, but you have to be kidding me. The wheel landed on Louisville, and of course they're going to play against Kentucky. So we're getting this Governor's Cup matchup just 3 games in. I love the fact that it takes place at Kroger Field, though. This gives the Wildcats a good chance. And the fact that with a minute left on the clock, we're trailing by 5 is just crazy. Kentucky's won like 4 of their last 5 games against Louisville. They're taking forever to spike the ball. And with no timeouts left, 32 seconds on the clock, I don't feel good. They're hurrying up to the line with 15 seconds left. I don't get what's taking so long. But the computer doesn't seem to be very urgent at the moment, and they need to be. It shouldn't be showing the cheerleaders right now because Kentucky's not going to get off another snap, and that means we've been eliminated just 3 games in. If I've learned anything, it's that I shouldn't have been so happy for Tennessee's loss. And I'll be rooting for upsets only for the rest of Imperialism. Oklahoma just got landed on. We're not staying away from the bigger schools, and they're going to have to go on the road at North Texas, so this is another chance for an upset. I really hope the Mean Green come out on top here because I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say this or not yet, but they are flying me out to their first game, so I'll be right there in that stadium as one of the fans in the crowd. And I'm not entirely sure all the things I'll be doing yet, but I know I get to play a couple people in College Football 25. There are exciting things happening this year because of the amazing position you all have put me in, and I'm very thankful for all of you, for all the support, the subscribing, the liking on the videos. North Texas is in a tie game, by the way, with this much time left, and it's not much, especially when they're throwing it away. But if they manage to get into field goal range, they could avoid overtime, kick a field goal for the win, and we'll see what they do on 3rd and 10. It looks like they're just not going to have enough time. So unless the Sooners return this punt, we are headed to OT for our first time in Imperialism, and I'm sure it's going to happen a ton. The Sooners would score on their first drive, but it seems like the Mean Green are about to respond back, and if they go for the 2-point conversion, they could win here. They're playing it boring, though, kicking the extra point, and between every play, it takes like 15 seconds for the next one to start. I think that's why there's so many clock issues. We might have to skip around a bit more than I want, but at least we have the real rosters out there on on the field for this Imperialism, and on third down, North Texas picks it up. I'm really hoping this gets to overtime 3, just because then they'd trade 2-point conversions back and forth. I feel like that would be pretty entertaining to see, but Oklahoma's forced a fumble, and the Sooners would win with a touchdown, even though all they had to do was kick a field goal to get the win. They had a wide receiver go off with 4 touchdowns on 5 catches, and North Texas wasn't in this for very long. They've already been knocked out of Imperialism. We still have a long way to go. There's 130 teams left, and it seems like it's going to take about twice as long to film on this game compared to the last one. Going forward, these might be a special, only a couple per year, and the Longhorns have been landed on where they're attacking UTSA. We're going to get to see one of the few domes in college football, and there's a chance that this is the first game that isn't close at the very end. It was about time that something wasn't a one-possession game with a minute left, so at least for now, Texas is technically back, but I do feel bad for CJ Baxter because I'm pretty sure he had a season-ending injury. At least the Longhorns will get to use him in this as they try to take over the state of Texas first. And with the addition of Sam Houston, there's 13 different teams in the state. I'm pretty sure that makes Texas the state with the most FBS programs. I was on the board though, and this arrow was close to touching Wisconsin, but it's gonna grace the tip of Minnesota. I love how realistic this game is. They've given them a 67 offense with an amazing defense, and we'll see how that unfolds here at Minnesota, where either team could come out on top. Well, I can't believe what I'm seeing, but with a minute left, we have just a 2-point game, and teams seem to be taking forever to draw up their plays, but if it works like it did here, that's fine. I'm really disappointed at how much clock is running off between each snap though, because I was so excited for this new game so we'd have some realistic Imperialisms. Iowa's defense is gonna force a fumble, they're picking it up, they're returning it for a touchdown, and Minnesota's gonna lose. We should still get some pretty realistic results outside of Iowa scoring 37 points, and that is not how the Gophers wanted to go out. Maybe the Hawkeyes had a lot of defensive touchdowns, their best receiver had 5 total yards, and I feel like they catch the most strays from me on this channel, so maybe some new college will after this next upcoming season. Michigan State, for example, had an offense that was almost as bad as Iowa's, but since they produced players like Kenneth Walker III, we can let it slide. Now we're headed to Indiana, where Ball State's attacking Purdue, and I'm pretty sure the Cardinals are tied for the worst team in the game. Purdue fans wouldn't be surprised if they lost this one though, because they go through it with their basketball team in the NCAA tournament every year. They're probably just relieved that they took care of business in this one, winning by 19, but I will give them credit for last year. Their team actually lived up to their expectations. They might actually be a good team in this Imperialism. Hudson Card's solid, but he does have to deal with Notre Dame being right next door, so we could see them playing very soon. This wheel determines it all. You almost don't want your team to get landed on right now, but Ohio State should be fine. There's plenty of tiny MAC schools around them. Their first victim is Akron, who does get to host it, but they're also at a severe overall disadvantage. If they even want to stand a chance in this one, they're gonna have to play the best game in school history, and that's what Purdue did a couple of years ago, but they clearly just weren't capable of it. We all know that Judkins is super hard to stop. I can't blame them. And just looking at the location of some other schools in this area, Kent State's surrounded by colleges that they're probably not going to beat. Some teams just have better spawn points than others. Now we're headed to Arizona State, and that seems to be the furthest that we've made it out west so far. The arrow's going to point them back to New Mexico though to attack the Lobos, and this is a great chance for us to witness an upset. What did I say? With a minute 19 left, Arizona State's trailing by 7 to the Lobos, but they also have the ball, so they have a chance to respond. They're already at the 50-yard line, and now they're going to throw it out there, but it was almost picked. And the New Mexico DB might regret that in the future because they got a face mask on the next play. That puts Arizona State on the 26, where they're about to take it to the 10-yard line, and now they're just going to hand it off but not get anything. 40 seconds on the clock now. They are going to take their check down, and it's intercepted by New Mexico. We have seen so many turnovers at the end of these games, and this one is no different. The Lobos are going to pull off the upset, forcing the interception. And what a way for them to end this game, hitting the Heisman pose. These are the results that make Imperialism so great. And of course, Bobby Arnold III deserved player of the game for that play. The Sun Devils thought they were going to get to expand their land with that matchup, but instead they've been fully eliminated. And with 125 teams left, this is what the United States looks like. The college with the most land at this point is probably Iowa or New Mexico. And I know that Army's territory is probably super tiny. It's up here in this northeast region where they're attacking up at Syracuse, and the military schools are always going to come in at a significant disadvantage. The Orange are another team that play in a dome, so that's where we're at for this game. And it looks like with a minute 12 left on the clock, the Orange are actually losing by 6. They're going to have to get down the field super quick since they have no timeouts left. And they certainly could have played better in the first 4 quarters, but all that wasted time is not helping them. They might have just been bailed out though. There's a penalty against Army, and that's going to put them on the 26-yard line with just 28 seconds left. Syracuse is making a run for the end zone, and he gets in. Now all the Orange have to do is hit an extra point, and I'm just gonna assume that they're easily gonna make it. The only thing Army has going for them is they do have all 3 of their timeouts remaining, but taking it out of the end zone there probably wasn't the best of moves in that spot. They're also having to go away from the option. They are slinging this rock to the 30, but I'd assume that they don't have the best kicker in the world, so they need to go a lot farther. With just 10 seconds on the clock, this needed to be a lot bigger of a play, and I guess they're just gonna go for the Hail Mary. This is it right here. Army's about to be eliminated unless they're able to get it into the end zone. That was a pretty great throw from their quarterback, but it just wasn't far enough. It's been picked. And Syracuse survives at home in their dome. What I'd love to see is Kyle McCord get revenge against Ohio State, but in order for that to happen, Syracuse is going to have to last for a long time. And so are the Buckeyes. I'm not sure if they've ever won a college football imperialism. That spin takes us down to Florida, though. We could be getting the war on I-4. And as I was saying it, that's where the wheel landed. UCF's playing at USF. Now, on paper in this game, the Knights are a lot better, but I feel like if they played in real life this year, it would come down to the wire. Now, this one's not been any type of shootout, but it is set up to have a really close ending. Byron Brown almost just gave it to the other team, and that's what he's going to do on this play, so UCF's going to come out on top. We have another pick 6, or I guess a tackle to stop it from happening. But still, with no timeouts left, this game's over, and I can't believe the Bulls just lost like that. The war on I-4 is going to go to UCF, and as someone that's been in Tampa for the last year now, that makes me pretty sad. The 2 teams that I would have rooted for this are already eliminated, and UMass is actually an amazing team for this wheel to land on. Both them and UConn are now up here with Boston College. They don't have as much of an advantage, but they are going to get to take this piece of land, because that's what we do if nobody occupies the space that the wheel's pointed to. Now it's back on Syracuse, so we're staying in the Northeast region, but once again, nobody's getting attacked because this state was in the way. 3rd time's the charm now. Surely we're not going to have that happen again. And Purdue cannot avoid playing either. They're about to take the field again. Unfortunately for them, it's also going to be on the road at Notre Dame. And going into this one, their 8 overall's worse. I think we know whose side luck's going to be on to, and Purdue could have shocked the country, but instead they lost by 24. I didn't even realize this was some rivalry. Apparently it's the battle for the Shillelagh Trophy, and given it a second shot, it's probably the Silla. If you've seen a few of my videos, we all know that I can't pronounce anything correctly, but either way, Notre Dame's getting the win that they deserved, and now it's headed to Virginia Tech. I think they actually have a really solid roster in this game, so just looking at the direction of that arrow, maybe they could give the Cardinals issues. As long as Louisville doesn't win the entire thing, I'll be happy, but they do have the home field advantage, which could help them out a ton. Well, what did I say? They have a 7-point lead with a minute left, and the Hokies just scored a touchdown, but if they don't get this onside kick, it's all over. The Cardinals have gotten their win. There's really no point in even showing this. We know the game's over, and that means that the Cardinals have survived again. Tyler Shuck could actually be him. He transferred in from Texas Tech, and he's the main reason that the Hokies have already been put out in this imperialism. Just zooming out a bit, the Cardinals have a ton of teams surrounding them. I think it's 10, but none of them seem to be good besides the Irish, so they're probably going to be in imperialism for a while. I don't think Appalachian State can touch them either. They're just a bit far off, but what they can do is attack Middle Tennessee State. If the Blue Raiders beat Middle Tennessee State, I'd expect them to win this one too, but we all know the results in imperialism tend to not make very much sense. They're actually in a really good spot with a minute 20 left, because even if Appalachian State reaches the end zone on this drive, they still have to get a stop and get the ball back and score too. A lot has to go right for the Mountaineers. We'll see if they're able to punch it in on this play. It looks like their quarterback had plenty of time, and the Middle Tennessee State fans look a little bit concerned. They know the Mountaineers still have all 3 of their timeouts left, but at least the Blue Raiders get the onside kick, and all they have to do is pick up a first down on the ground, which seems like it's going to be happening. They're just 3 yards away from their second win in imperialism, but that didn't work, and now it is 3rd and 5. They're going to hand it off, but get stopped. They had a tough decision to make here, but they decided to kick the field goal, and their kicker must be Justin Tucker's son or something, because that would have been good from 60, and it was straight down the middle. Now Appalachian State has a chance, but it's not a great one with no timeouts left, and because their clock management isn't good, I'd expect them to have maybe 3 plays left on this drive, but they pick up a lot. They throw the ball out of their hands the second they step out of bounds, and they're making all the right plays to send this one to overtime. There's still some more work to do though, and now they're down at the 10. All they have to do is keep getting out of bounds. They cannot afford to be tackled in bounds. And over on that left side of the field, I see that they're pressing where it did not work. I saw that one coming from a long way away. They still have to get the 2-point conversion too though, and I'm glad I chose to spectate the end of this game even if it seemed like it was over. They came up short on the 2-point conversion, so it seems like all of that was for nothing. Middle Tennessee State is moving on, and what a heartbreaking way for the Mountaineers to lose. All of that effort to just not have a good plan whenever they're going for the 2-point conversion, but at least they tried their hardest and didn't get embarrassed. Now we have Wisconsin, a team that just avoided playing earlier on, and they're going for all of Iowa's territory by attacking them. The Hawkeyes have a slight advantage in this situation though, because they have the power of all the little kids in the hospital cheering them on down from up above. And what a way to ruin their day by making them sit through this game. It is 16-13 here in the fourth quarter, and they're about to throw an interception. But the Badgers defender didn't react quick enough. Now it's 3rd and 10, and that is somehow going to be a catch for the Hawkeyes. They are breaking down the field to the 30-yard line. So all of a sudden, they have a little bit of life. They still have plenty of time to reach the end zone too, but they almost threw a pick again. And I can't say I'm too surprised. I've watched Cade McNamara do this in real life multiple times, but the halfback screen's a way to get a first. That's a great strategy from the Iowa coach. Make it so he doesn't have to make a read. He did right here though, and that was a dart. I'll give him credit. The only issue is Wisconsin has been left with about 40 seconds. And instead of calling one of their 3 timeouts, they've let the clock run down to 15 seconds before getting out this next throw that's going to take them all the way to midfield. Now it's seeming like the Badgers have a tiny chance, but I'd assume after this play, they're just going to resort to a Hail Mary, and that literally took them 2 seconds to run. I've never seen a play that short before, but they're down at the 25. Apparently time has run out before though. Why are you holding up a W? You just lost. And that means Iowa has gotten another win. They're collecting Big Ten rivalry trophies like Infinity Stones now, and I think it's pretty safe to say that they're the largest territory in the United States. Nobody else besides New Mexico's coming very close at the moment, but it's also very true that expanding this early can be a bad thing. That's why if you're a powerhouse like Georgia, you want to stay small for as long as possible, because now there's a chance that they're going to have to play a bunch of different teams. They'll probably win a lot, but you risk an upset every single time. So we'll see how long the Bulldogs stay in for. They doubled Georgia Tech's score in this game. They were obviously going to come out on top, because just looking at the series history, they've dominated it. As for some of the other teams in the state, they're also going to want to avoid the Bulldogs. And with a 94 overall offense and defense, they have to be the favorites to win the entire thing. Even good teams like Penn State only get up to about an 87, so they might not even survive this attack against Pittsburgh. They're still a lot better on paper, but road rivalry matchups are always tough. But I guess not for the Nittany Lions. They just dropped 41 points. I mean, that one wasn't even close. Drew Aller led them to a victory. And Penn State fans are going to be super happy this season if he can play this well in real life. The only teams left in the state now are the Nittany Lions and Temple, and I still can't tell if there's going to be more upsets in this Imperialism or on NCAA Football 14. Either way, just knowing that they can happen is enough to keep me super entertained. And Maryland's challenging Penn State, so they're going to have to play again. We've seen a lot of repeat teams super early on so far, and I have a feeling that Maryland's probably not going to do well here. They tried to pull off a last-second comeback, but being down by 9, it was never going to be possible. And the Penn State defense just played really well again. If there's one team I'd want to avoid at the moment, it's probably them, because they've been taking over this area of the map with no issues at all. Back to the wheel we go though. This time around, it is going to avoid Penn State, and it actually landed on one of the new teams, Sam Houston. They're down in Texas, where they're immediately having to attack SMU, and for recently making the transition from FCS football, they're pretty solid overall. I'm pretty sure this is their second season at the FBS level, so there's no reason we should have expected them to beat SMU, and I'm sure Preston Stone appreciates the easy win. We've had a lot of blowouts recently. I'm ready to get back to the games that end up having super close results. And if you're wondering, this is what the updated map of the United States looks like. With 115 teams left, we've only eliminated 19, and I've probably said it a few times now, but we have a long way to go. This video always takes me days, but it's one of my favorite ones to film, and I guess we'll see if the Bobcats can pull off the upset at West Virginia. Well, I didn't think this would still be a contest with just a minute left, but Ohio's trying to drive down the field and get the game-winning touchdown. They're letting a lot of time run off before they're spiking the ball, but that seems to be every team's strategy late in the game, and they're still getting to the 35. With a couple minutes left on College Football 25, defense just doesn't exist, and you're only getting stopped if you throw it at your lineman's head. I can't believe he just doinked his teammate in the helmet. He was trying to get a 20-yard pass going like this one, and that receiver just got rocked. We'll see what happens on this next one. It looks like they're gonna make the catch, but getting out of bounds right here is the much bigger deal. Now they have 13 seconds left to get about 20 yards. They still have a timeout left too. This one's gonna go out of the back of the end zone, and they don't necessarily have to take an end zone shot on this play. They can set up for a close one. That's exactly what they did. Ohio on the final play isn't gonna get in though, and somehow there's still a second left. It's not over. I don't think you can hand this ball off. You have to try to throw it, and Ohio gets in. So on the final play of the game, the Bobcats are gonna upset the Mountaineers, and we have actually just witnessed the craziest ending yet. West Virginia fans are not gonna be happy about this one, but the 3 Ohio fans that exist out there are definitely gonna be. And this is just the beauty of college football imperialism. I love filming these videos so much. It might take me 30 to 40 hours, but I might have to do another one if we hit 10,000 likes. And the wheels now put us on Memphis, where they are headed down south. Ole Miss is definitely going to be a tough opponent for the Tigers, but it's also a winnable game, so we'll see what happens. Well, I don't see why all these Rebel fans are still cheering, because as time winds out in this one, they're losing by 18 points, and they just got destroyed by a team that's a rival to them at home. This guy only had 4 catches, but 3 of them were touchdowns, and almost every SEC school that's played played so far has not done well. Ole Miss was one of those teams I was expecting to make a deep run, and it was about time that the wheel landed on a school out there in California. It's not going to feature USC or UCLA, it's going to be San Jose State attacking Fresno State. But this is still a rivalry, so it should be good. Maybe not. With about a minute left, it's an 11-point game. And if San Jose State can't pick up this 4th and 15, it is all over, which they're not going to. That means Fresno State's about to take all of their land. But I recognize Mikey Keene's name, so they have somebody good at quarterback. At least for now, the Bulldogs are going to have the most territory in the state of California. And now the wheel is going to take us over to Air Force. Another military school is already going on the attack. And it's not going to be against Deion Sanders' Colorado team, but Colorado State instead. We're getting back-to-back matchups in the Mountain West Conference. And if Air Force can't pick up this 4th and 2, they'd be in a lot of trouble, but they got enough plus more. There's only 25 seconds left on the clock, but they've worked their way down to the 11-yard line, and from here it's just touchdown or bust. What's crazy to me is after the play, this was challenged, and apparently this ball was caught by Air Force. But just from the looks of it, I don't think he got a foot in. The refs seemed to give them a touchdown though, and now they're going for the 2-point conversion for the win, but the pass is off target. I don't know how you miss in that situation, but they still have all 3 of their timeouts and a chance at this onside kick. They're going to have to get a stop quickly. I'm pretty sure the refs just gifted them a touchdown. It's still incredible they even caught that ball, and that's something I really like about this game. Players will adjust to the ball in midair. Now it's 3rd and 4. If they get a stop here, they're still going to have a chance. And I don't know why Colorado State is going for it here. They should have punted it back. I guess it really shouldn't make that much of a difference unless Air Force's quarterback is about to launch this for 70 yards. He's rolling out though, and that's definitely not going to be enough. The Falcons put up a good fight in the end, but it just wasn't enough. And if we ever get another in-state Colorado matchup, it would be between the Buffaloes and the Rams. I'm really curious how far Deion Sanders can take that team. I feel like there's some bias built in. And Utah State's another team that's probably close to them, but they're not playing against the Buffaloes. They're attacking their rivals, the Utes. I'm not going to act like I know anything about either of these teams, but if Cam Rising is still at Utah and he's also healthy, the Utes could do pretty well. Apparently he was out there on the field and it went really well for them. They won 31-3. So he's helped them take home the Battle of the Brothers. And that was with a stat line like this one. It seems like as of recently, all the teams that are in the Mountain West Conference are just dropping like flies. So I'm sure the rest of them are hoping this wheel heads back out east, but it's going to land on Boise State. We're not going to get to see the Broncos blue field. They're stuck playing on the road. Or maybe they're not playing at all. That arrow points up, so they're taking over this state. I'm like 95% sure that's Montana. Don't quote me on it though. And poor Louisiana Monroe, one of the worst teams in the game, just got landed on, and if they don't beat Louisiana Tech, they're going to be out. What I'm learning from doing this is some of the logos I have on the map are extremely outdated, but it's not like the Warhawks are going to last very long anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Well, to my surprise, with a minute 15 left, they're up by 2 points. And you know what? If they come out on top of this game, I will fix their logo. Their defense has to keep Louisiana Tech out of field goal range, though. They still have some work to do. And it's like in the final minute, teams just forget how to stop the pass. That wasn't a great example. They did well there, and they're also about to get a sack. So now it is 3rd and 18. We'll see what Louisiana Tech can do, and that's the laser over the middle of the field. Apparently that ball wasn't held onto though. I couldn't tell, so if they don't pick this one up, it's all over, and they still gave it up. That should put the Bulldogs in field goal range. They'll probably just settle for 3. And I knew that was going to happen here at the end. They're just running out the rest of the clock as they break off another one. There's nothing that the Warhawks can really do, but they are going to leave them like 10 seconds to respond back. I really hope General Booty pulls some miracle play off. That would be awesome. And let's see what he can do right here. He is going to just throw it for like 8 yards. So I don't think Louisiana Monroe's coming back in this one. They're about to be eliminated unless something crazy happened here. It's unfortunate, but it's not surprising that one of the worst teams has been knocked out of Imperialism. And just zooming out on the map, I didn't realize that Boise State now has more territory than Iowa. That might not last that long for them, but we'll see how things play out. And with the wheel landing on Baylor, we're headed back to Texas. They're going up against TCU, giving us a Big 12 conference matchup, and neither of these teams are supposed to be very good. With about a minute and a half left, Baylor has the ball trailing by 2. All they need is a field goal. And just to get the ball back in the first place, they had to burn all 3 of their timeouts, so quarterback Daquan Finn's going to have to be smart about how he manages this clock. He transferred in from Toledo, and so far they're on a pretty good pace. And all of a sudden it is 3rd and 10 for the Bears, where they are just going to pick it up. Now it's taken them quite a while to spike the ball. They're going to have about 20 seconds left. So with no timeouts left, Baylor's actually sent their field goal unit out there on the field. I want to say that's smart. It's something the computer would have never done on NCAA Football 14. But it's also given TCU a chance to respond back if they're able to get in field goal range. They really just need one more 20-yard pass, but that's not going to happen. So it all comes down to this Hail Mary. We have yet to see a Hail Mary work in this video. I'm sure we will at some point, and it has. What is the Baylor defense even thinking? How on earth do you only have one player back there on the final play? And I'm not going to lie, they deserve to lose the game. I don't understand what this coverage is, but even he couldn't keep up with number 7. What a brutal way for the Bears to go out. That's embarrassing. And these are the moments that I film these videos for. That is nuts. I'm pretty confident that literally any college could win the entire thing, and I'm sure every team's very concerned about where this wheel is going to land. It's Georgia versus South Carolina, so another SEC team's about to lose, and I think it's safe to assume that it'll probably be the Gamecocks. They're going into this one with a severe disadvantage, and even having a cheat code at wide receiver, Nick Harbor, they've done nothing. They literally have a guy that's 6'5" with 99 speed, but no matter what happens in the final 15 seconds, this one's already over, and that's another interception. I can see why South Carolina lost. They were just the worst team, and apparently this is a rivalry as well. I always feel like I come away from filming Imperialism knowing even more about college football, and with that result, Clemson and Georgia are sharing a lot of their borders. They'll probably end up playing in the future, but for now we're headed to Washington, and the Apple Cup's on the line for the entire state. Neither of these teams are going to be as good as they were last year, but that makes sense. They both lost a ton of players, and this game's come down to the final 2 minutes. It's 3rd and goal for Washington State, but they were able to throw for a touchdown and take the lead. That puts the pressure on Will Rogers to get his team down the field, but I'm not sure if he's going to be able to do that. It is now 4th and 11, and he found the comeback route. Still a minute and a half left on the clock. All they need is a field goal to send it to overtime, but that doesn't seem to be happening. They're going to have to figure out what they're going to do to end this game. Those sacks really hurt them. Now 3rd and 10 is almost intercepted, and we're left with a 4th and 10 where Will Rogers has plenty of time to find a receiver, but he does. It was caught. I honestly thought there was no chance they were coming down with that football. And here we go. Now it's 1st and 10. They're taking the drag underneath, which is probably the smart move. If you have somebody open, you have to feed it to him, but Will Rogers just lost the game for the Huskies with that pick. Up to that point, he was playing so well, and if his team's even able to get the ball back, there's going to be like 3 seconds left on the clock. Well, that does it. Washington State wins the Apple Cup, and their Cam Ward replacement didn't do too bad. This might be the first time that we've seen the Cougars beat the Huskies in Imperialism, and I'm here for all the chaos. We're getting closer to just 100 teams left. Boise State got landed on, so they're going to have to play somebody, and it looks like they're going to be facing off against the Cowboys. This matchup's for the most territory on the entire map, and the Cowboys are in a pretty good spot to come in and take everything that Boise State has. They have the ball, so if they're able to score a touchdown on this drive, they'd win the game, as they're going to find somebody over the top of the defense, and he is gone to the crib. That was so quick. All of a sudden, they're on top, and the pressure is on the Broncos to respond back. We'll see what they can do on this drive. Their first throw is caught, but they need to do more than just that, and this catch is going to get them the first. Now they're dropping back again, and this time they just got the ball out in time. So it's 3rd and 2, 26 seconds on the clock now, and that did not look very good for Ashton Jeanty. He's not even getting them the first down. That's going to end the game. All they have to do is take a knee, and I think it's safe to say that this is an upset over the Broncos. Evan delivered whenever it mattered most. They scored off of that huge touchdown, and all of the blue land that Boise State just had is now Cowboy territory. Other Cowboy teams are known for choking though, so they'll probably blow this pretty soon, and we're now just 5 teams away from making it to our top 100. Missouri's another SEC school that has a chance of losing, but it probably won't happen if they're playing at Arkansas State. Going into this one, they have a 6 overall advantage, and they also have one of the best, if not the best, wide receiver in the country. It should be no surprise that the Tigers won this one by 30 points, and I guess they didn't fix the scoreboard. They scored 1 point in the first. That's been a bug on this game that I've caught a few times in my videos, but if you want the real quarter-by-quarter breakdown, this is what it would look like. It's starting to seem like as of recently, if your team has yellow behind them, they're going to perform pretty well, but our sample size is still kind of small. There's room for things to change. The wheel almost landed on Missouri again, but instead it landed on Navy, and I feel bad for them. They're going to have to play against Penn State. All of the military schools are going to be gone before the top 100, and this is another matchup that was never going to be much of a contest. Penn State's dominated in all 3 of their wins so far, and they're not just good at running. Apparently they can also catch the ball too. The last Imperialism that they were a part of, they did get done dirty. I made a little bit of a mistake, but I'm triple checking every result this time to make sure the right team always moves forward. I made it up to the Penn State fans anyway. They got their rebuild video, and here we go. We're headed over to Michigan, where the Spartans are taking on Central Michigan. This probably shouldn't be close, but there's a chance that it is, and I'm hoping that it is because our last couple of results have been complete blowouts. If it was up to me, every game would have a tight finish, but it's not. It's up to Sim, and if they don't get this 4th and 7, this one's over, but they did pick it up. They still have 2 of their 3 timeouts, so it's not completely over if they can get a touchdown quickly, and we'll see if they can recover the onside kick or not. It bounces off of the Spartans player, and who picked it up? Oh my gosh, they've said it's Chippewa's football, and this could be a generational choke from the Spartans if they actually lose this game. They still have plenty of time to reach the end zone. I think they get more than a field goal out of this drive. And there's no way that was considered a catch. He was well out of bounds, but at least it stopped the clock for the time being. Now they're taking it to the 34. And there's no way that they're taunting them like that right now. 46 seconds still remaining. We'll see what they do. It looked like they were about to take a sack, but they did get it out. And they might actually settle for 3 right here. I can't believe it. All I can say is they must have a kicker that can hit from super far out. If they took a sack, this one would be over. And they're going for a 47-yarder here, but the computer never misses a kick. That would have been good from like 68 if they wanted it. And on 3rd and 10 on their first drive, Central Michigan might be settling for 3. This is a rough call right here. Michigan State wins with a touchdown. And we'll see if they're able to get that or if they're just going to settle for 3 on this drive. They just keep running the ball, and now there's someone open. I saw him in the end zone. So the Spartans are going to survive against Central Michigan. They're a little bit too excited for beating a MAC school, but they do have an exciting sophomore quarterback that's going to continue to develop. And as long as they can avoid playing against the Wolverines, they should be fine. Just because of their location, most teams normally don't play them. And Northwestern is one that I'm not expecting to go far. They should beat Northern Illinois, but that might be it. And I think the game's rounded up to give them a very generous 80 overall. If I had to pick a team to finish at the bottom of the Big Ten this year, it's either them, Indiana, or Purdue. But maybe they're about to prove me wrong. They have a 10-point lead with less than a minute left. And if they blow this game from here, that would be super embarrassing for the program. They're about to give up a touchdown. But even after doing that, all they have to do is recover the onside kick, and we'll see how this unfolds. We just watched Michigan State struggle in this situation, but they've picked the ball up and they're going to get the win. The Big Ten Conference keeps on winning against the MAC. And now there's just one team standing between us and a top 100. You're about to find out if your team's going to make the cut or not. And with the wheel landing on Houston, there's a decent chance they go out. They're going to have to go on the road at SMU, who's already won a game. And they're also an 85 overall team, so they're pretty good. I was hoping this would have been a little bit closer than it was, but even with a late comeback from Houston, the closest they got it was 10. So the Cougars are going to be the final team that I'm eliminating today. And these are all of the colleges that have made the top 100 in Imperialism. It's another day and time to see who's about to get eliminated next. We're starting it off with the wheel landing on Colorado, and Deion Sanders' team is going to have to play at BYU. It's strange that this is a Big 12 matchup now, but it is. And Colorado has a severe advantage going into this game. Only on paper, though, they're actually losing this one by 3. And if Shedeur Sanders can't get his team into the end zone in the next 47 seconds, they'll lose. I guess they could always kick a field goal and send it to overtime too, but it's been a rough offensive game until this play. And all of a sudden, BYU's going to have to respond back. Shedeur Sanders was on perfect timing right there, and BYU's not starting this drive in a great position where they dropped the football. That was the right read because they have to get a touchdown in the next 20 seconds if they want to survive. I think they're going to be eliminated. And I don't know why their mascot's strutting like that. He should not be excited. They're about to lose to Colorado. And that was a big play from the BYU quarterback. He almost did it again. But testing Travis Hunter normally doesn't work out. It looks like they are in Hail Mary formation, even though they had enough time to get off another play, and they still do, which could end very interestingly. We saw what happened in the Baylor TCU game. This ball is caught, but Travis Hunter made sure to wrap him up, so Colorado wins. It wasn't the best of games from Shedeur Sanders, but all that matters for the Buffaloes is that their team was able to survive another round. And we've already had a ton of action out west, but it looks like it's going to stay there. Things are going to thin out over here much quicker than the East Coast, and we're about to see if Cal has what it takes to beat Nevada on the road. I mean, the Golden Bears clearly have the upper edge, but that was only on paper. They got embarrassed, losing 41-14, and I can't believe how much the Wolfpack won this one by. I figured that they would be eliminated, but they've lived to see another round. And now the wheel is going to take us over to UConn. This is interesting because Boston College always makes a deep run, but the arrow is pointing away from attacking the Eagles and instead attacking the Orange. Syracuse has already had to beat one team, and now it seems like they're about to take down another. It's 4th and 12 for UConn. If they don't pick this one up, there's no chance of them coming back in this game where they have a little bit of life still if they recover this onside kick, but they don't. At the end of the day, they're going to lose to the Orange, and Kyle McCord gets another win. He's done pretty well for himself so far in Imperialism, and at the moment it seems like Boston College is still in a good spot. That wheel just landed on Duke, so now we're headed down to their territory, and we have a game that people only want to see in basketball. I'm pretty sure without their head coach in Riley Leonard, the Blue Devils are not supposed to be good. But North Carolina lost Drake May to the NFL, so they're also missing some talent. That didn't stop their new quarterback from putting up 43 points on the Blue Devils, and that means they've won another battle for the victory bell. Now I see why, though. Omarion Hampton's still there, and with that one win, the Tar Heels have doubled the size of their territory. After this round, we'll take another look at the full map, but first, we have Georgia State attacking somebody, and of all the teams around them, it's Georgia Southern, so they have a chance. Neither of these teams have a good spawn point, but this is an opportunity to get a win, and Georgia State just ran away with it 43-9. Once again, there was no reason to spectate anything. That's only their 8th series win in the series, though, and I'm not sure if that's just because these teams don't play as often as they should. One of them could have just moved up to the FBS level pretty recently too, I have no idea. But what I do know is they're probably not going to make it much farther. They're in a tough spot. Now we're headed over to Tulane and they're going up north. But that's not good for them because they have to play against LSU. They're always trapped in, so it was going to be hard to avoid this. And I really miss all the chaos that we had yesterday. I want to see upset after upset. And that just wasn't going to happen here. Death Valley's one of the toughest places to play. This is how it was going to end up 9 times out of 10. And just looking at the map right now, it feels like we're farther along than we are. Lots of teams have gotten 1 or 2 wins, but nothing more than that. And we're about to have some chaos in the MAC. I want a MAC matchup because that would give us a good game, but instead Miami, Ohio's attacking Cincinnati. Ever since making the playoffs though, the Bearcats have severely regressed. So I wasn't expecting it, but going into this game, they're the lower overall team. In fact, they didn't just lose, they lost by 29 points. And I didn't realize how many times Miami, Ohio had won this series. At this rate, we might never get a close matchup again. And we need the wheel to do us right here. It's going to land on Florida. This could be interesting. We'll see which direction it points. But it was up north, which means they're playing Georgia State. We knew the Panthers' time would probably come, but I thought they'd last a little longer. And they just made the Gators look so good. It finished 41-7. All of a sudden, Graham Mertz is an amazing quarterback, but you won't see him put up numbers like that against Kentucky this year, I hope. I think that's 5 blowouts in a row now. The wheel is landing on Vanderbilt, and they're a very average team. This could give us what we're looking for. The odds of them facing UAB were pretty slim, but that arrow points straight down there. And we've been gifted an even matchup. They're both 77 overalls. Because Vanderbilt's the worst program in SEC history, though, we're not getting a close game because they can't even beat UAB, who isn't good. The Commodores are an embarrassment of a football program. For how bad they've been over the last 50 years, they should just be banned from the SEC. And if it was my choice, I'd relegate them all the way to the Sun Belt. I take that back. I'd actually send Vanderbilt all the way to NAIA because in the last 50 years of playing football, I think they've had 3 total winning seasons. How is that even possible? Vanderbilt's an academic university. They need to stay away from football. And it's a good thing the wheel's taking us somewhere else because I would have kept going in. Now we're getting Rutgers and Temple. This one has potential too because even though the Owls are a lot worse, they're hosting it. Even when Rutgers has a little bit of success too, I find it so hard to believe that their football team's actually good. And this is exactly why. With a minute left in this game, they're about to give up a touchdown. So the Owls have just taken a 5-point lead on Rutgers, and I'm so thankful for this great finish that we're probably about to have. The Scarlet Knights still have all 3 of their timeouts left, so we'll see what they can do with that and a minute left on the clock. But they're just not holding on to the football, and that's not good news as they do it again. It is 4th and 10 now. Their quarterback keeps on putting the ball in the right place, but their receivers just don't make a catch ever, so Temple's gonna win. Or at least I think they're gonna win. They still have to get at least 1 more first down, and they do. That's exactly what we were hoping for though, a close finish to a game. And shout out to Forrest Brock for getting the huge win for the Owls. Going into that one, they were at least 10 overalls worse than the Scarlet Knights, but it didn't matter in the end as now they control a little bit more of this Northeast region. If my calculations are correct, we're down to 90 teams on the wheel, and New Mexico State is a college that never gets in Imperialism. They were in NCAA Football 14, but not the revamp mod, and they're attacking their in-state rivals, so things are finally starting to heat up again. Well, I'm pretty sure that the Lobos aren't normally the better team, but they're about to win this game 25-7 or 25-14. That's just a little sympathy touchdown at the end, where the Aggies tried to make the score look better than it was. The truth is, they just couldn't keep up with New Mexico, giving them their 75th series win. And that's a lot of series wins for teams that have probably only played about 100 times. I guess I wasn't familiar with the Lobos game. They clearly run this series themselves, and they're starting to carve out a nice piece of territory for themselves out west. Their growth's probably a bit premature because they're going to be attacked a ton, but all they can do is keep winning if they're landed on, and now we're headed to Kennesaw State. They're the newest team at the FBS level, attacking Middle Tennessee State, and with a 60 overall offense, some would also consider them the worst team in the game. All I'm saying is if the Blue Raiders beat Tennessee but they lose this game, sim logic makes 0 sense, and there's actually no way it's this close with about 75 seconds left. All the Owls have to do is finish this drive off with a touchdown to take the lead, but that big hit's gonna make it a 4th and 6. The pressure is on for Kennesaw State's 60 overall offense, and they complete the pass, but the job's not finished yet. We'll see what they go with here. It's just a run up the middle, and that's kind of smart. They're taking some time off the clock in case they are able to get into the end zone. Middle Tennessee State might actually blow this, and they better quickly figure out how to get into field goal range to send it to OT. Big throws like that certainly help. They're about to get another 10 yards, but there's only 24 seconds left on the clock, and that is going to be intercepted by Kennesaw State. They've done it. The worst team in the game has pulled off the upset, and what a huge win for the Owls this is on the road. I'm so proud of them. They were able to come out on top, and Davis Bryson was the quarterback that led them to the the win. I'll admit, I had zero faith in them, but now they've got themselves a new fan. And it's too bad that they have both Georgia and Clemson on their border at the moment. The wheel is taking us to Nebraska next, though. They haven't had to play yet, and they've avoided a matchup for now just because this wheel did point to an open state. Their time will eventually come, though. It's just not going to be at this moment, and I'm not sure if South Alabama borders Alabama or not. Well, they do, but the arrow's pointed in the opposite direction, so they're playing Florida State. That's not much better, but there is a chance that they're able to survive through this game. I don't know who gave Florida State a 90 overall, though. I didn't think they were going to be that good. I thought they'd be about an 87, and that difference clearly showed on the field. I think we just got our first shutout in Imperialism history, at least on college football 25. 34-0 is very rough, and the Jaguars showed zero fight at all. RBT would be very disappointed in them. That's a tough first matchup for any small school, though, and the wheel is not avoiding Syracuse. They're going to have to play for a third time. Well, they're going for UMass's land with the arrow pointing down towards them, so both of the new Imperialism colleges in the Northeast region could be gone already. Maybe not, though. It's a tie game with about a minute left, and UMass has the ball inside the 25-yard line. Syracuse is taking timeouts, though, so they can't just run out the rest of the clock, and their quarterback just tried to throw an interception on second down, where now they're settling for 3. I don't think the computer's kickers miss kicks, so they should hit this, but if Syracuse can march down the field in a minute, they're gonna win. On 1st and 10, it looks like Kyle McCord is going to almost throw a pick, and then on second down, he's gonna get this out quickly, but it's to a drag route. It's like they're not in a hurry, even though the game's on the line, and the most I can see the Orange getting out of this drive at this point would be a field goal to send it to OT. Throwing it out of bounds there was a fantastic move, and they're going to do it again. So I will say, in most instances, I love how much smarter the AI is on this game. They're throwing to the sidelines because they know they only have one timeout left, but that's going to be an interception. Kyle McCord's turned it over, and I think he just missed his main target there. That shipment hap that the UMass team was celebrating with after the turnover was pretty cool too. And what type of last name is that out of a quarterback? Don't even ask me to try to pronounce this. I'm not going to do it. But what a guy. Because of that upset, he has set up Boston College to take over this Northeast region like they always do. I'm a bit surprised that Syracuse went out there, but Boston College has been landed on. And how ironic. They're going to have to actually play in a game. The wheel has directed them over towards UMass, so the Minutemen are playing again. And I might have called them the shipment at the end of that last game, but oh well, that's like the same thing. We'll see if they're able to win again. Well, I'm not sure what type of sense this makes, but Boston College dropped 48. I think that's the most we've seen in Imperialism so far. And it just hit me that of course this is a rivalry in Massachusetts. I'm not sure what type of face scan that is, but a good performance from their QB. And I swear, Imperialism always plays out this way. Boston College now controls this entire Northeast spot. The odds of them getting landed on many more times than this are now super slim. So we got a new game, we got some new teams, but nothing seems to change. Now we're headed back to Michigan, where the Spartans have already had to play once, and instead of taking on the Wolverines, they're headed down the road to play Western Michigan. It's actually an even matchup as both teams are an 80 overall, so there's no telling who's going to come out on top here. It looks like Western Michigan has a chance with a minute left, but they're down by 6, so taking a sack there's pretty rough. Now they're going to complete this pass, knock it out of bounds, and you have to wonder how long it's going to take them to snap the ball. This is definitely a bug that I hope they fix in future updates, because I was able to see the way games were intended to be spectated in Washington State, and there shouldn't be these awkward 10-second screens in between plays. The clock runs during them. That's why I said Kentucky didn't have much time left on the clock whenever they lost their game earlier on in this Imperialism. But if you can get out of bounds, it's not an issue. Western Michigan's not out of it yet. They still have 29 seconds left, and on this next play, they're gonna have a pretty clean pocket. They've taken a deep shot down the field, and it's caught for a touchdown. The Western Michigan fans are going crazy, and I have no idea how you give that up. The Spartans still have all 3 of their timeouts left, so they could get in field goal range theoretically, but there is zero room for error on this drive, and on the first play, it looks like they're about to get 15. 12 seconds still on the clock. I think they need about another 25 yards. They're getting close, and the Spartans might actually still win this. They're not even trying to get more yards. They're kicking this field goal from almost 60 back, and it was in from 70. I can't believe it. All the hard work that they just put in has gone to waste because the Broncos defense simply couldn't hold up. Aiden definitely deserves player of the game here, and that's going to leave us with just 3 teams left here in the state of Michigan. We'll see where the wheel takes us next. We're going over to Alabama, so we have a big team playing, and they're going to be headed to the east. That means this early on, we're already getting the Iron Bowl, and this could very well be the game that knocks Alabama out. I'm excited to see how this one unfolds, though Auburn could get blown out by 40, and this is why I didn't have too high of expectations going into it. No matter what happens on this 4th down, the Tigers are already trailing by 18, and even though they picked it up, they still wouldn't finish the game with another touchdown. They struggled to score, giving Alabama another win in the Iron Bowl, and of course, Jalen Milroe played pretty well. This area, the map's getting very interesting to me though, because you have Florida State, Georgia, Florida, and Alabama all super close, and and poor Troy's stuck in between all four of them with nowhere else to go. Notre Dame's the next team up. They've already had to play once, and this time around they're going on the road at Northwestern. I think we all know what we're expecting to happen, but you never know, Northwestern could pull off an upset, just not this time around unless they pull off a miracle. First of all, they'd have to pick up this 4th and 20 where that pass didn't go far enough, and at the end of the day, Notre Dame gets the win. I didn't even realize that this was also a rivalry, but it makes sense we're getting so many in Imperialism. These games are pretty location based from the start, so we're seeing a lot of matchups between teams that have played a lot in the past, and if you don't get put out by one of your rivals early on, then you have to play a bunch of other teams. Jacksonville State's one of the newer FBS programs, so this is going to be tough, and I'm sure they wish they landed on Kennesaw State, but instead the arrow points towards UAB. Going into it though, they are the same overall, but UAB's done pretty well in Imperialism so far. If their defense can hang on to a 10-point lead in this final minute, they're going to move on to another round. That's a huge throw though. And what type of defense was that? He didn't even jump for the ball. I actually have to go into instant replay to expose this man. I swear there was somebody right there and he, I guess, just missed it. I can promise that kid's scholarship is going to be pulled if the Gamecocks somehow come back, but the Blazers recover the onside kick, so it's over. UAB is going to pick up their second win of the day, and it seems like most of the other teams surrounding them have also already played in a couple different matchups. That's not normal for Imperialism. You'll have teams make the top 10 that never stepped on the field, but if the wheel lands on them, they're going to be forced to play, and that's what's happened to NC State, who has to go at North Carolina. We've already seen the Tar Heels beat the Blue Devils, and it seems like they're also going to take down NC State, but the Wolfpack do have a chance. There's 46 seconds left, they have the ball, and they have to move it all the way down the field. Dropping passes like that certainly does not help them. We'll see what they can cook up on second down. It looks like they're about to catch it, and I was not expecting them to hang on to the ball there. Now they're spiking it. That's why it's so crucial to get out of bounds whenever there's not that much time left on the clock. And here we go. We'll see what they draw up on this one. Plenty of time to step up, and they just throw it away again. Well, it could all end right here. No shot at a Hail Mary if they didn't pick this up, but I'm afraid that might be the end of the game anyway. The clock's just running on this screen, and they're not going to get up to the line to spike the ball in time. If they fix that going forward, I'd be open to doing a lot more Imperialisms, and I don't think it affects the results too much because you should play better in the other 4 quarters, but it hurts to go out that way. We've seen comeback drives in 20 seconds though, so there's zero excuses still, and Oklahoma's back on the board. They're going to have to attack for a second time, where they're going to be headed down to Texas to face off against SMU. There's a lot of land up for grabs here with 2 pretty even teams, and we'll see which one comes out on top. Well, Oklahoma fans are not going to like this one. They lost 27-3, and their offense was just non-existent in this game. That means they're giving up a pretty good portion of land to SMU, who's already taken over some other territory, and so far the Mustangs are showing zero signs of slowing down. Joining the ACC might be what takes them to that next level, and we've already played a couple games in North Carolina, but we're headed back there. I meant just in the state, but we're also headed back to the Tar Heel Stadium, and East Carolina has some great helmets, but I'm not sure if that equates to having a good team on the field. Well, clearly it does. They've been able to keep up with the Tar Heels. That's a dot, and all of a sudden the Pirates have a 4-point lead. So far though, the Tar Heels have seemed to respond back pretty well. They're moving it down the field, and this pass is going to add to that as they're taking it all the way to the 30. All they have to do is reach the end zone in the next minute, and that shouldn't be too difficult, but they're about to waste a down by spiking it. That was one of the worst plays I've seen the CPU make so far, but they just need a little bit more, and in the process they've burned their final timeout. It'll be interesting to see how they handle this final 34 seconds. They're about to take a sack, and the North Carolina quarterback doesn't seem worried. He walked back to the line of scrimmage where he's spiking it with 7 seconds left, and I think that's Max Johnson, who would have transferred from Texas A&M. He has blown this game. I mean, North Carolina is going to have one final shot to win it, but at the moment it's not looking too good for them. We'll see what they're able to come up with, and it is intercepted by East Carolina. They've pulled off the upset. They're waving goodbye to the Tar Heel fans. That's crazy, but they're excited. It's a rivalry that they're probably not used to winning. I'm telling you all right now, there could be an underdog that wins the entire thing, and for the first time in this video, we're headed down to South Florida. FAU could have gotten stuck playing Miami, but instead it's FIU, and these teams are about as even as it gets. These are the matchups where you'd expect the home field advantage to make the difference, but it hasn't. It's tied up with a minute left, and we'll see what FAU can do. They have the ball on the 10-yard line. They need at least a field goal, but it seems like that's probably not happening. They just ran the ball. They pretty much just gave FIU a huge chance. They're punting it back to them right now at midfield, and we'll see what they can cook up here. They have a lefty at quarterback who's going to laser it over to that right sideline, and they've broken a tackle. Just 34 seconds left on the clock now. They could be settling for a field goal, and that's what they've done. As time expires, they're going to win. Never mind, there's still 1 second left in this game, so even though we have yet to see it happen in this video, a kick return is possible for the Owls. This is their one chance to stay in Imperialism, and they're going absolutely nowhere. FIU ended up defending their home territory pretty well, but they're in a pretty rough spot because after that result, they're definitely the worst team remaining in Florida. Miami also has to go through them to do anything, which causes more issues. And Coastal Carolina's playing, but we're not going to see the teal field. They're headed on the road, and it's at Georgia, so they're probably going out here. And if this one's even a contest, my respect for them would go up a ton. Well, this is what we all expected to happen, 52-13. And I think that's a new record for points scored in an Imperialism matchup. Surprisingly, the player of the game stat line wasn't that impressive. And now there's an even greater chance that we see a Clemson-Georgia game in the near future. If the wheel lands on Clemson, there's like a 50% chance it happens, but instead it went to UCLA, who is going to be headed to the southeast. It was actually a close call, but they're going to be playing against San Diego State. And I'll just throw this out there, the Aztecs might have the best helmets in college football. That alone might be enough to carry them to overtime because UCLA's not scoring on the final play. The Bruins would also score on their first drive, really putting the pressure on the Aztecs right here, but as long as they get into the end zone, we're going to be headed to overtime number 2, and they're so close to taking a sack. I don't know what their quarterback was thinking. It's now 4th down. And here we go. Can San Diego State stay in the game? No, they can't. That was a huge stop for UCLA to win the game in OT, and I feel like their defensive unit deserves player of the game. Only scoring 23 points in a win over San Diego State isn't something to be proud of. But then again, the wins put them in the top 75 of Imperialism, so maybe that is all that matters. We're almost at the halfway point now, but there's still quite a bit to go. And I don't think Arkansas's had to play in a game yet, but they're about to face off against Missouri. I'd say this isn't an ideal start for them, but they're the same overall as the Tigers. And I don't know how that's even possible, because Missouri should be a much higher overall, but it's just the way the game is. That's how, with 52 seconds left, Arkansas has a chance to take the lead, but they're going to fumble away the football, and Taylon Green didn't even try to pick it up. He just let that Missouri defender take it all the way back to the crib. The Razorbacks had an incredible opportunity, but they blew it because they couldn't finish off a drive. That means the battle line rivalry is going to go to Missouri, and of course, Brady Cook won player of the game. Leave it to the Tigers to get rid of every team in Arkansas, and we'll see how much longer they make it with 11 teams on their border. Illinois is one of those teams that borders Missouri, but they're not headed that way, and instead they're headed up to challenge Notre Dame. Let's just say that's not a great draw for the Fighting Illini, but with a minute and a half left, they still have a chance. I don't know what to expect here, but we'll see if the Fighting Illini can get it done. And that pass is going to take them past midfield. Now Luke Altmaier is going to get this ball out, and the comeback route worked wonders. They shoved a player into the injury tent. Now he pops out of it, and he's bound to score a touchdown on this play if he got the Deshaun Watson treatment as he makes the catch or not. Illinois needs to better focus on getting their players recovered. You have to hold on to that ball in that situation. Now they're almost picked. And here we go. 3rd and 10. Notre Dame sends 4. That's not enough pressure. They're down to the 5-yard line. They're just going to spike the ball with about 20 seconds left. And let's see if the computer messes this one up. They're going to hand off the ball, which means they're not snapping it for another 10 seconds. And this bug actually needs to be fixed. They're not even going to get up to the line of scrimmage. Why is that a thing? It has saved Notre Dame from being eliminated in Imperialism. But we can't blame it all on the bug. Illinois only scored 10 points in 4 quarters. Riley Leonard's stats weren't great either. He probably got confused thinking he was playing for Iowa for a second. And I don't understand how players can throw for 104 yards and still win a game. I watched it happen so many times last year with the Hawkeyes. And Western Kentucky could be the next Kentucky team to get out because they have to play at Indiana. I don't think they should lose, but on paper they're the lower overall team. And they're also playing this one on the road, so they're set up for failure from the start. With a minute left, the Hilltoppers are trailing by 5 points, but if they score on this drive, they'd win. And throwing for the sidelines is always the right move. Now, I don't know what's going on with this big ol' rock at Indiana's football stadium, but I don't want to be disrespectful to it because there's a decent chance it's a memorial or somebody's grave. Never mind, I just looked it up and it has something to do with the limestone in the state. They're rubbing a random piece of limestone for good luck. It's not like it's helped their football program, but I'm also a Kentucky fan, so I've been salty about Indiana ever since they beat us with the shot back in like 2010. And now they're about to knock out Western Kentucky from this Imperialism too unless they have a miracle. Completing that pass in bounds is going to be the end of the game. So the Hoosiers took care of business. That used to be Ohio's starting quarterback, I'm pretty sure, Curtis Rourke. He didn't win player of the game, but I've done enough of these Imperialisms to know that quarterbacks get passed around more than some of your favorite stars. I still don't know how I feel about NIL in college football. There's a lot of good and bad, but if there's one thing I know, it gives big schools that have a lot of money no more excuses. So with a budget like USC's, they shouldn't lose to UCLA. I'd assume they spend a lot more on football than the Bruins, and it showed in this game. They're ringing the battle for the victory bell. That's pretty cool to see this, especially with other UCLA players around, but they tripled their score. And I feel like I didn't see that right, where UCLA players watching USC players ring the bell. I feel like if you lose a game to your rivals, you don't want to stay on the field with them. But that's what I just witnessed, and UCLA has been removed from Imperialism. It was bound to happen at some point though. Now we're headed to Virginia, and I can't remember if we've seen a single game in the state so far. Never mind, I remember Louisville beating Virginia Tech. Now we're getting Virginia at James Madison, and if this was last season, I'd take the Dukes 10 times out of 10 here, but it's not. They lost their best player and their quarterback to the transfer portal, so we'll see how they do. Well, with 42 seconds left, a comeback isn't likely, but James Madison's already gotten it past midfield. We'll see what they can do on this next play, and they're out of bounds. They're going to have to do that for the rest of this drive because they have no timeouts left. This is a breakaway slant where they're going down at the 25, and now they're going to stall for half of the time remaining. By the time they get to the line and spike the ball, it looks like there's going to be 16 seconds left. And if they don't go out of bounds or throw the ball away, I think it's safe to say that this is the final play of the game, but they get the touchdown instead. I don't know how Virginia managed to mess that up, but we're going to overtime because they were too scared to go for it. That's going to backfire on them if they're not able to get in with this drive, and there's actually no way they're settling for a field goal on the 1. The Dukes deserve to lose this. I don't know why they're high-fiving, because if you have it on a 4th and 1 on your own 1-yard line, you go for it every single time. All the Cavaliers have to do is make sure that they get into the end zone here, and that's what they do. So they've won the game with a walk-off touchdown, and this is actually a big victory for their program. For a team that's used to losing, this is probably pretty exciting. And at this rate, by the time I'm done with this video, every single fan base is gonna hate me. I think the funniest interaction with a fan base I've ever had is I said Wake Forest fans don't exist. And so for the next 2 weeks, there were 3 accounts that tagged me under every post on Twitter just to prove they existed over a joke I made. I love stuff like that. Now we have Rice taking on Texas State. And speaking of the Bobcats, that's where James Madison's former quarterback transferred to. It doesn't make much sense to me. It's not like Jordan McLeod took a big step up going from James Madison to Texas State. But at least with the Bobcats, he's still going to be in Imperialism, because as long as they pick up this 3rd and 2, they're going to be able to run out the rest of the clock, and that ball's dropped. I still think it's over, but just in case Rice does something with this drive, I have to watch it. And with 6 seconds left, they're still trailing by 12 points where they don't get in. The odds of a comeback now are so small, but that makes me want to see it happen even more, and they just took too long on this play. This game's over. It's ending with a pick. That pretty much sums up how Rice played. And Texas State stays alive for a little bit longer. They're in a pretty tough spot though, being in the middle of Texas, TCU, and Texas A&M. So unless they get super lucky with this wheel, they're going to be put out eventually. Now we're back to Oklahoma State, who played in the first game of Imperialism, and they're trying to get even more territory taking Texas Tech. That's a good chunk to go for. I respect it. And it was never even a contest. They won this one 38-7. Their strategy was probably give the ball to Ollie Gordon 50 times, but maybe not. Alan Bowman was the dude that won player of the game. That's going to make their territory look the weirdest of any of the ones that are left on the map, but once you zoom out, it's nowhere near the biggest. Headed back to the wheel, now we are going to Wake Forest. So a lot of North Carolina schools have already had to play, and they're looking to take everything the Pirates have worked for. This is actually a great opportunity for the Demon Deacons to make a name for themselves, and that's what they've done, winning this one by 12. East Carolina made a comeback push in the 4th quarter, but it wasn't enough. They still couldn't keep up, and that means Wake Forest has taken over all of the territory that the Pirates once had. I'd argue Wake Forest is in a pretty good spot too, just based off of the teams surrounding them, but the wheel landing on them back-to-back times is super unlucky, and now they have to make sure that they also beat Charlotte. This is it to be the final team standing in North Carolina, and I didn't realize the Demon Deacons were this good. They won 31-7, so maybe I should put a little bit of respect on their name. I mean, they haven't beaten anybody significant yet, but they are taking care of business, and now there's a chance that they'd have to face either Georgia or Clemson next. Speaking of Georgia, it almost landed on them, but instead it went to Fresno State, and that means only one of these 2 Mountain West teams are surviving. It could be either one of them. It's a complete toss-up. Or maybe it's not. Allegiant Stadium looks great on this game, but at one point UNLV was trailing 37-0, and they made it look respectable at the end. Mikey Keene is going to try to take this Fresno State team far, and just looking at some of the other teams that surround the Bulldogs, that might not be that difficult to do. The only one that could eventually be super hard to take down would be Oregon, but the wheel avoided them. Instead, it went over to Oregon State, and they're making the Beavers travel on the road to play Washington State. This is the matchup of the Pac-2. Neither of these teams belong to a real conference, and they just want to be loved by somebody, man, so I can relate. With about a minute left, it's all tied up at 20, but Oregon State picks up the first, and we'll see if they can get in field goal range to settle for 3. That's all they have to do at this point. They're handing it off now, and on 3rd and 3, they might be going back to the exact same place, so they were ready. The Cougars knew what was coming, so they're going to have a chance to respond back after this 3, and they'll have to go 89 yards down the field in 40 seconds, but it's something that could happen. That catch was incredible, and for the first time, the sim's not broken, so the clock's not running super quick, which means they actually have plenty of time to still get down the field. As long as they're picking up first downs, no timeout shouldn't be an issue. But the new issue Washington State's running into is they just struggle to pick up this first down. They're going to get to midfield, but now there's only 18 seconds left, and they're going to need at least 20 more yards if they want to kick a field goal. I mean, that's all they're going to need to send it to overtime. For a second, I might have thought they needed a touchdown. There's so much time on this pass. Surely they're going to have somebody open eventually, and I don't know how you miss that throw or you don't bring that ball in. That would have put them in field goal range. They could could have spiked the ball. Now they have to go for the Hail Mary, and it's caught by Oregon State. The Beavers deserve that win. I guess they're the best team in the pack too. And I gotta give them credit. That chainsaw celebration for a turnover is super sick. If it wasn't for College Football 25, I'd never know about stuff like that, because it's not like I'm flipping on an Oregon State game anytime soon. And just taking a look at this map, the West is starting to really thin out. We're past the halfway point in Imperialism though, so it makes sense that stuff like that's starting to happen, and now SMU is being challenged again. The Mustangs have won a lot of games in this Imperialism so far, and I can't believe how well SMU's playing. They won this one 34-20, but that's only because the Aggies put up some points at the end. Preston Stone dominated earlier on in this game, and at one point it was 34-6. SMU's starting to become a little bit scary. Nobody seems to be able to handle them, and it's not like these have been close games. They've been winning by a ton. Now we have Louisville, who I feel has been in for a bit too long, but it's probably going to stay that way because they've been matched up against Miami, Ohio. I haven't forgotten about what the Redhawks did to Cincinnati though, and they've put up a really good fight against the Cardinals. With a minute left, it is all tied up at 21. It's hard to tell what team is which because they're both wearing red and white jerseys, but basically Miami, Ohio just punted it back to Louisville with 54 seconds, and I'm not going to be able to forgive them if they're not able to pull off this upset. At one point, Miami, Ohio was down 21-0, and I'm pretty sure they've scored all their points in the fourth quarter where they're about to get an interception with 20 seconds left. They might be near field goal range. I have watched games from this stadium before. It is never this full, but that's fine. If that's what it takes for them to win this game, I'm okay with it. What they just did right there was set up their kicker to hit this one straight down the middle, and that's an insane comeback. 24 points in the fourth quarter. I was so close to just simming it to the end without ever hopping in for a play, but then I saw how close it got, and Miami, Ohio has earned a fan in me for doing that against Louisville. Now we have LSU playing in another game. They're in a pretty good spot on the map because just look at the teams that surround them. They're about to play Louisiana Tech. No offense to any of them, they're just not on LSU's level. But I guess that doesn't matter. Look at the score with a minute and a half left. All Louisiana Tech has to do on this drive is score a touchdown against the Tigers, and they'd pull off the biggest upset in this video. At least that I can think of. If there's another one I'm forgetting, you can remind me in the comments, but I'm pretty sure this would be it and they have a touchdown. They might have scored a little bit too quickly though, because if they don't get this 2-point conversion, they're going to lose the game off of a field goal, and their quarterback breaks a tackle to dive in. That's the type of effort Louisiana Tech fans want to see. But their defense still has to hold on for another minute, and that's a lot of time, especially when they can't tackle. I still don't understand why players just instantly drop the ball the second they touch the sidelines, but that's clearly the place they need to be going because it keeps on stopping the clock, and so do drops like that. 3rd and 9, they're gonna get the interception on the Tigers, and if they take this back to the crib, Louisiana Tech has pulled off the upset. I did not think they were actually gonna hold on there. I thought they were gonna give up a touchdown, but we have now witnessed back-to-back upsets, and I wonder who's next. Jack Turner is a school legend. They could lose their next game by 50. It won't matter. And I know the LSU fans are not going to be happy about going out like that. I'm really curious who's next though. I want to continue to see chaos. And Liberty's an interesting team. I feel like they could go pretty far. They're starting off playing at Old Dominion, so that's pretty much a warm-up. And the reason I'm so confident in the Flames is they have a top 5 quarterback. If they lose this game to the Monarchs, I would consider that an upset too. And it wasn't even close. 31-7 with the Flames winning by a ton. Of course, Caden Salter, the top 5 quarterback's going to win player of the game. And you can't say I'm wrong about that because as you can see, he is tied for 5th place on the roster file. In reality, he's probably like a top 10 to 15 quarterback, but he's still really good. And with this next spin, the wheel is taking us to Utah. I'm pretty sure they've already played in at least one game in this Imperialism, but now they're going for the most land in the country, attacking Wyoming. If you're a Cowboys fan, it's not looking good, but at least you all got to control a lot of territory for a while in this Imperialism. It ended up being 30-7. At the very end, Utah let Wyoming score a sympathy touchdown just to make it not look as ugly, and Cam Rising might carry these Utes pretty far. Again, besides Oregon, I feel like things are pretty open whenever you look out west, so there's no telling who's going to come out of that side of the map. If the Ducks aren't landed on for a while, which they almost were right there, they're going to be in a very, very good position, but they probably have to play here. Just looking at the map, the arrow's pointing out here, and the closest team to that would be Oregon, but they have such a big overall advantage going into this game, they should be fine. It is another blowout, 41-15, and I was hoping it would have been a bit closer, but it wasn't. It looks like the Ducks have owned the Beavers in this rivalry, and now all of that territory that they took from Washington State is now gone. I can't believe I said something about Oregon having to play though, and they played in the next match. So it's funny how this wheel works sometimes. We have Fresno State going to the Northwest, and that means either them or Stanford's about to be eliminated. Just because the Cardinal joined the ACC, their overall is slightly better. And there's the dancing tree mascot. It looks so creepy, but so good at the same time. Unfortunately for Stanford, that hasn't translated to having success on on the field. They almost threw a pick. And if they can't get down the field, score a touchdown and a 2-point conversion quickly, they're going to lose. 3rd and 3 for the Cardinal. Their quarterback slings it over the middle. And I can't tell if that's still Ashton Daniels or not, but we're just going to assume it is and call him Ashton Daniels. Ashton Daniels gets them past midfield, and they're going to spike the ball with about 20 seconds left on the clock. If they still want to make something happen, they're going to have to aim for the sidelines, and that sack could do it. Stanford would never get off another snap. Fresno State picks up another win, and sure enough, Mikey Keene wins player of the game with 0 touchdowns. I'm pretty sure that screen, like the player of the week once in Dynasty, don't factor in your rushing stats, it's only the passing ones. So he could have rushed for 2 touchdowns and we would have never known, which is why they need to fix that too. It was about time we were headed back up to the Northeast though. It landed on Buffalo, and instead of playing Temple or Boston College, they've been matched up against Penn State. I'm sure they're totally thrilled with how this worked out for them, and all of us already knew that Buffalo was about to get packed up. The Nick Singleton, Katron Allen doublehead monster is just too difficult to stop. And taking a look at the colleges around Penn State at the moment, they might have the best location that's still remaining on this map. As long as Ohio State doesn't eventually touch them, they're going to be fine. And let's see where this arrow takes us with Toledo. We're headed to the southwest. That's going to pin them up against fellow MAC opponent Bowling Green. And how could I forget? This is also called the Battle of I-75. I figured that this one would probably be pretty close, but it's not. The college version of the Browns are going to lose this one by 22 points unless they somehow got that pass completed. It's always embarrassing to lose by this much to your rivals, and it looks like Toledo has a good replacement for DeQuan Finn. Just looking at the other teams around the Rockets though, they're not in a great spot. They're probably going to lose pretty shortly. And as we get closer to a top 50, this is what the map looks like. The next college the wheel's going to put up for a challenge is Clemson, and we all know if this is pointing south, they're going to have to play against Georgia. So with the arrow wheel going there, we know exactly what we're getting into. This is probably the biggest game that we've had in Imperialism so far. And the only reason it's such a big deal is because Clemson is very good on College Football 25. If you thought they had what it took to keep up with the Bulldogs though, you would be wrong. They're down by 17 at the end of the game. And this is probably how it'll play out during the opening week where Cade Klubnik throws a pick. This is the result we were expecting. The Bulldogs getting another win. And they're definitely going to be the toughest team to take down. It's unfortunate for teams like Kennesaw State that are so close by, but as long as the wheel continues to avoid them, they won't have to play them. Tulsa's a new face now. We haven't seen them play yet, and they're going to try to take all the land that Oklahoma State's built up. This is also to be the final college standing in Oklahoma, and the biggest issue the Golden Hurricanes have run into is they can't stop Ollie Gordon. The Cowboys have scored 52 points already, and even though their defense gave up 42 of them, they still won by 10. That's bound to happen though with the combo of Ollie Gordon and Alan Bowman, at least when they're facing off against a low overall defense. With that result, we're now just 3 teams away from reaching the top 50, and we have all known from the start that Troy is in a terrible spot. No matter where this spun, they were not going to play somebody fun here, and going into this matchup, they're 19 overalls worse. To everybody's surprise though, look at the score with 2 minutes left on the clock. Troy also has the football. I have no clue how they're only down by 4 points, but that blows my mind, and we'll see what they can do on 2nd and 10. They're going to drop the ball. 3rd down now. They're going to have someone open for the first, and they still have plenty of time left on the clock. It's just whether or not they can continue to move the chains. Here on 2nd and 10, after they almost fumbled the game away, they're going to complete a short pass, but I still have almost no faith in Troy to pull off this upset. I just don't see it happening against a team like the Crimson Tide, and there's a flag on this play. I don't think that interception is going to count for anything. This is perfect. Alabama's being cheated at home, and that pass interference call is going to give the Trojans a first down. That sack is really going to hurt the Trojans though, and after spiking the ball, it's 3rd and 17 with about 20 seconds left where that's swatted down. You know, no matter what happens here, I respect the Trojans for the fight they just put up, and after completing that pass, there is still a little bit of hope for them in this game, but they take the sack. I was hoping they'd at least get off a Hail Mary attempt, but they couldn't even do that. So Troy's upset dreams in that game have just fallen a little bit short. That would have been a crazy way for another SEC school to go out, especially after what happened to LSU, and Oregon's playing again. Unfortunately for Nevada, they're headed down to play at the Wolfpack Stadium, and what are the odds that we're about to witness another huge upset? I'd say they're pretty slim after what we just witnessed, but maybe not. Look at the score with a minute remaining. Nevada's only trailing by 7 points, and they're trying to move it down the field, but they throw an interception in the first play that we watch, and that means that they're going to lose to the Ducks. For a split second there, it looked like the Wolfpack could pull it off, but at the end of the day, they just couldn't stop Dylan Gabriel. That just means that Oregon's going to continue to become a bigger giant out here in the West, but they're sharing a lot of borders with Utah, which should make things interesting. Whenever they inevitably play, I'm sure it's going to be a good game, and for the time being, we're getting Texas playing at TCU. This is it. It's for the final spot in the top 50, and the Horned Frogs tried their best to keep up, but at the end of the day, Texas just scored more. With Quinn Ewers taking that knee, the Longhorns have sealed their win by 10, and I'm sure this is the result you all were expecting. There's going to be a lot of orange colors touching in this region, but we can deal with that later, because eventually these teams teams have to play each other, and this is your top 50 for college football imperialism. It is now day 3 of filming, and by the end of this, we're gonna have a winner. So I'm stoked to see which team becomes the ultimate champion. We're starting out with UTEP challenging the Lobos on the road, and just looking at past matchups, New Mexico's done pretty well. They couldn't handle the Miners though. They lost this one 26-6, and I can't believe they just got embarrassed like that at home. All of the work they put in was for nothing. They couldn't even make that a respectable battle, and that's why it's best if this wheel continues to avoid your favorite team. The Spartans have now been landed on for a 3rd time, and somehow they keep on avoiding having to play Michigan. They're about to eliminate every other small school in the state, but at least we got to see one matchup on the gray field because this is a unique spot. Well, the Eagles might actually survive this one, so there could be future games on this field as well because it's a tie game with just a minute left. Giving up a throw like that though, certainly not going to help. Now the Spartans are just running the football, and Eastern Michigan has to resort to calling timeouts. I think they might just try to settle for 3 even though they're far back, and I feel like that's a crazy move to do right here, but they keep on running it. I guess they know their kicker's automatic, even though from 50 back should never be a guarantee, and Michigan State's gonna somehow survive again. They're gonna have to play the Wolverines next, most likely. This ball is floating in the air and it is dropped, so that seals it. They've gone in and stolen the Eagles' land. I was hoping for an upset there, but it just didn't happen, and I need more chaos on this map. There's not that many teams left. Miami, Ohio could be interesting. They took down Louisville earlier on, but now they think it's a good idea to go on the road at Notre Dame. Of course, this would be a setup for a massive upset, but the odds of a small school doing it twice are extremely slim. They let Notre Dame hang 48 points on them, and defense just seemed to be non-existent. Riley Leonard's starting to really enjoy playing for Notre Dame now, but with the Irish's recent expansion of territory, they're now touching a lot of different colleges. Over a 5th of the colleges left could end up playing them at any moment, but UAB is a little bit too far away to make that happen, so instead they're taking on Kennesaw State. After the things they've done, I want to see both of these teams make a deep run, but unfortunately only one college can survive through this one. Well, Kennesaw State's proven that they are the worst team in the game, because as time winds down in this one, they're punting it back to UAB. They're okay with going scoreless against the Blazers. They haven't put up a point all day, and that makes me sad. I was hoping this would be a little bit tighter. I think it's pretty clear by now though that the Blazers are legit, but they've doubled the size of their territory, so now they're bordering Georgia as well. When you're next to both Alabama and the Bulldogs, it's a hard spot to be in, but the arrow has avoided them. It's headed to Kansas State, and the Wildcats haven't played in Imperialism yet, but they're attacking Oklahoma State. I don't know if it's just me, but Kansas State seems to do well in almost every Dynasty sim I have, so I'm expecting them to perform pretty well in this matchup as well. It looks like with a minute left on the clock, they're down by 7, but they have the ball at midfield, and all they have to do is score a touchdown to send it to OT. I think Avery Johnson's capable of pulling it off, but with no timeouts left, there's very little room for error, and they break the tackle. They're into the end zone. It took them almost no time to tie it up, and Oklahoma State could have been in a hurry, using their 3 timeouts to try and get in field goal range, but they wasted so much clock that we're going to overtime for sure. They must be really confident in their ability to score in this extra period. They're getting close, but they're not feeding Ollie Gordon, and even if they do get in, their defense still has to get a stop. Here we go. We'll see what the Cowboys go with. On 3rd and goal, Alan Bowman is going to find someone open, but he dropped it, and that means they're only settling for a field goal. Kansas State wins this one with a touchdown, taking everything that Oklahoma State's worked for, as they're already getting 6 yards. I can't believe they just put themselves in this position. DJ Giddens is very, very hard to stop, as he casually just threw a couple players off of him. I don't know why our camera angle is flipped, but I will say there are some very buggy things about overtime, and I'm just lucky I haven't run into a big glitch yet. That touchdown's gonna win it for Kansas State though. They've taken down the Cowboys, and it's because they kept running those jet touch passes over and over. That makes me want to try out the Kansas State playbook in my next rebuild. I think I'd have a ton of fun with it, and we'll see how much farther it can carry them in this Imperialism. If your team still made it this far, there's a decent chance that they come out on top, or at least make it to the top 10. All they have to do is not be landed on, but that's easier said than done whenever you have the wheel directing Missouri over to Notre Dame. The Irish better figure out how to stop Luther Burden if they want to win, and it seems like the other solution was just outscore them. They put up 52 points. That performance from Riley Leonard might be the best that we've had from a quarterback in Imperialism yet, and so much for getting a close finish there. Instead, we just got a blowout. I'd imagine Notre Dame's gonna struggle though, because they're touching so many states, and Mississippi State is a team that hasn't had to play, but they've lucked out with their first matchup against Southern Miss. Going into this one, they're only 4 overalls better, so with Southern Miss getting to host it, it's probably a pretty even matchup, and it has been, but Southern Miss has some work to do if they want to come out on top. On 3rd and 16, the halfback screen makes it manageable, but a 4th and 9 is still a hard thing to pick up, and I see that they only have 1 timeout left, so this is literally it. They have plenty of time back there in the pocket, and they're not going to make it. Nope. It was hard to tell, but the ref spotted him short, so that might be a little bit controversial. I couldn't tell if he got it or not. Either way, that's how it's going to stand, so Mississippi State moves on, and with Ole Miss being eliminated by Memphis earlier in Imperialism, they're the last team standing in their state. The wheel really needs to take us over to that Alabama-Georgia Florida State region though, because those teams need to beat up on each other and UCF is headed north. They have no choice but to take on the Gators here. They're going towards that region I just talked about. And I'm hoping that this is a really great game. That's what we got. Look at the score with a minute left. And UCF's in a tough spot because they have to go 89 yards down the field on the road with no timeouts left, but they're almost at midfield. The Knights still have a slight chance at scoring a touchdown and winning. And after spiking the ball, they have about 40 seconds left now. They're rolling out, throwing that one on the run, and they're going to go all the way to the end zone. I thought they were taking a bad route for a second, but Chancey Magwood steered away from the defender in the end. It only took them 2 plays to get down the field. That's incredible. Now, Florida fans look super disappointed at the moment, but UCF still needs to get this 2-point conversion if they want to have a 3-point lead, and they do. That means the Gators cannot win with a field goal. They're going to only be able to send it to overtime, and they're relying heavily on Graham Mertz here. A blitz the first play was a bold move, but UCF doesn't care. They're trying to take care of business. Now they've dropped back in coverage, and that's going to lead to a much bigger game. 3rd and 1, 24 seconds left. Getting out of bounds would be massive, and there's starting to be a little bit of hope in the Florida fans. As a Kentucky fan, I want to see the Gators lose this, so I'm rooting for UCF, but they didn't pick that ball, and Graham Mertz looks very upset about that throw. He was the dude that decided to throw it into double coverage though. Now he's going to fumble the football and jump on top of it, but that forced the Gators to use their final timeout left. Only 10 seconds now. I think this one is over. That's going to put the Knights in a tough spot. They're between a ton of very, very good teams, and I'm very curious to see what happens to both them and FIU. As long as the wheel doesn't touch that portion of the map, they could last for a while. And let's see who Virginia is about to face. This is not good news for fans of them. There was like an 80% chance it put them up against an easy school, but instead it's going to be Penn State. So if they want to win this, they're going to have to play perfectly. Well, I think it's safe to say that this couldn't have gone much worse for them, but it's what I expected. They only scored 7 points, and they also made Nick Singleton put up 155 rushing yards. From what we've seen in this video, Penn State's looking very, very strong. And even if they have to play in 20 games, they might take the entire Northeast region. We're headed back to Louisiana, though. I think there's still 2 teams there, but there won't be after this matchup. The Raging Cajuns want what Louisiana Tech has. I'd like to think the Bulldogs could handle them, though, after handling LSU, but it turns out they couldn't, even though they were at home. They just let their score get doubled by the Raging Cajuns, and that's just how Imperialism works. They've been knocked out from the entire thing. There's only 40 teams remaining now, so there's really not that much left, and the next team that has to play is going to be Michigan. This should be interesting. The Wolverines have avoided this for a while, but of course, just headed down to the south. The only place they can go is Toledo, so they're getting a warm-up before they'd have to play any of the big schools around them. It wasn't even close, and I didn't expect it to be, but I thought they'd do a better job at stopping Alex Orji. He literally just manhandled every single one of them like he was a part of an actual one, and I feel pretty safe in saying that the upsets were more frequent on the old game. It's probably a good thing that they're not as common as they once were, but I love my chaos, and this is about to be a game for the biggest territory. We're about to see how good Dylan Raiola is for Nebraska, and he's done his job so far. They have a 1-point lead with a minute left. Avery Johnson and Kansas State have a chance to respond right back though, and all they need is a field goal on this drive. Let's see what they do on this next play. Going out of bounds was very smart, but they've thrown a pick to the Cornhuskers. Nebraska's won, and I repeat, Nebraska has won. Even the fans can't believe it, because it's been a while since we've seen them win big games, but maybe Matt Rule is really fixing this program around, and we'll see how far this freshman can take them in Imperialism. I was not expecting that right there, that's for sure, and it has caused the map of the United States to look like this. We're getting closer to the point where we would have eliminated almost 100 teams, and the Ducks might make things very interesting here, headed to the east to attack. We know what that means. The winner of this one is going to have the biggest territory, and the Utes get the home field advantage that I'm sure they wanted. If there's going to be a team that knocks out Oregon sometime soon, it's probably them, and with 80 seconds left, they have a 2-point lead. Dylan Gabriel's in a tough spot here. His defense just got the ball back for him, and he's going to get a pass out where they need to step out of bounds, but this is going to be tough to do with no timeouts left. He takes a check down, and for whatever reason, that player just fell over before trying to get extra yards. Time is very valuable at the moment, and these Utah fans can sense a huge win. The short passes underneath are not working for Oregon. They need to go deep. That's what Dylan Gabriel has done, and he has found a receiver that's streaking down the field, so the Ducks might have just won this one. All they had to do was run up to the line, spike the ball. That's what they're about to do, and I apologize to anybody rooting for Utah because you all aren't winning. The Oregon defense would really have to mess up on this last play to blow the game now. Cam Rising has plenty of time, but of course, I don't think they're going to get anything out of this, and that means the Ducks have survived for a little bit longer. Dylan Gabriel played really well though. He threw for over 400 yards, and that's given the Ducks the biggest territory in the entire country. They've taken over the Northwest, and just looking at the map, there's definitely a little bit of congestion around this Midwest region, but besides that, most of the teams remaining have a good portion of land, and the Miners are one of those. They took some from New Mexico, but now they want even more, attacking Nebraska next. We're starting to see the biggest territories having to defend a lot more often. often. And this is crazy. UTEP's playing really well. They might actually beat Nebraska. All they have to do is settle for a field goal. If they're not in field goal range, though, that's where the issue is going to come, and they've thrown an interception. Are you serious? You had a great opportunity. Nebraska keeps getting turnovers to seal their wins, and now they might have more land than Oregon does. It's hard to tell which is bigger at this point, but they're both pretty large by now, and there's really not too many small schools that are still remaining. The Cornhuskers cannot avoid playing, though, and this should be good. It's the biggest game of this entire Imperialism. The stakes couldn't be any higher than they are right now, because the winner of this game might have half of the territory on the map. It would have been nice if it was at least close, but Oregon blew out the Cornhuskers by 35 points, and that means Dylan Gabriel keeps on winning. I think it's safe to say that he's happy with his decision to transfer here, and I just feel bad for any Nebraska fans that thought they had a chance for a split second. We've now eliminated 99 teams in Imperialism, and this next game will decide who's going to be number 100. It could be Louisiana. We know that they're not a great team on paper, and if they have to head in this direction, then they have to play against SMU. This might be another blowout win for the Mustangs, and it was. They doubled the score of the Raging Cajuns, and I just want some more close games. I feel like we've seen so many different blowouts, but it is realistic, and EA wanted the best teams to play like the best teams in the game. If you're still hoping for an upset run to win it all, there's not many options to root for, and Texas might take out SMU right here. It is pointed up north, though. If it didn't have a little bit of west in it, they would have played the Mustangs, but that is touching Oregon's territory that goes all around, and I'm actually double checking this right now because this is for the biggest game yet, but if you go from the center of their logo, it's definitely going into the Ducks' land. If any team were to stop Oregon's reign, the Longhorns have the best shot, and let's just hope that this high-stakes matchup is actually a close finish. That's exactly what we've gotten. The Longhorns have the ball with a minute and a half left. They're trailing by 6 points, but if they score on this drive, they get the win. You can tell that some of these Oregon fans are very nervous, but Quinn Ewers still has to get this team another 69 yards down the field, and he is going to sling it over to that left side where they are about to be out, or maybe not. The clock's not stopping as this instant replay runs. The next time I do an Imperialism, I'm hoping that that glitch is fixed, and I've done my part. I've tried to make some people aware of it. On 2nd and 10, there's going to be a sack, and the football looked like it popped out as well, but the refs ignored it. 19 seconds now for Quinn Ewers to get his team into the end zone. They need to have a huge play or at least go out of bounds. What's sad is this is probably their final shot at the end zone, and they just took the underneath pass. They're not going to reach it. They're going to lose. The clock just continues to run, and before they can get to the line of scrimmage, that's going to do it. Texas hasn't been able to beat Oregon. This is just another team that has been wiped off of the map by the Ducks, and if they pick up a couple more wins, they're going to control half the United States. As of recently, it seemed like the wheel is just attracted the landing on them, so it going to somewhere like Florida State's a big deal, and this is headed over to the east. Well, they've avoided Alabama and Georgia for the time being, but they are going to have to play UCF, so they still have a tough opponent that they have to take on, but at least with the Knights, it's one that they should still win. Well, this one's clearly coming down to the wire, and I'll be interested to see what the Knights do here. All they really have to do is get in field goal range to win this game, and they might have done it with that one play. They're running the ball, so I'd assume they have. Plus, Florida State's starting to take some timeouts, but now they're throwing it, and they took a sack. They actually might have just lost it with that one play, because I doubt their kicker's going to hit from 60, but he might, and I guess we're about to see. Knowing how the sim works on this game, he probably could, but instead they went for it, and that means the Seminoles just have to take a knee. The fact that UCF lost by 1 point's pretty heartbreaking, but at least their fans can know that they put up a good fight, and the inevitable loss was most likely going to come with those other teams around them. Headed back to the wheel, this time it's going to take us to Alabama, and the Crimson Tide are another team that haven't had to play in a while, but now they're facing UAB, and this could be where the underdog run ends. You hate to see it with this big of a difference in overalls, but somehow this game is close with 2 minutes left, so we're hopping in to spectate earlier than we normally would. Jalen Milroe on a 3rd and 12 throws it away, and the Crimson Tide are actually struggling. They're going to hit this field goal though, because the computer's kickers just don't miss, and on 1st and 10, the Blazers are about to start trying to drive it down the field. We'll see if they can cook up something here. They still have plenty of time to get into field goal range, and it looks like they're getting very clean pockets, which is something I wasn't expecting. Their quarterback has all the time in the world back there, except now he's running backwards into a sack. And why would I ever say anything? I just jinxed UAB. They're going to lose this game to Alabama now, and all the Crimson Tide have to do from here is get like 10 or 15 yards. We've seen that their kicker can hit from super far out. It is done, and they're just running the clock down to settle for 3. The Blazers need a blocked field goal or something, and it just didn't come. So their fans are disappointed now, but at least they put up an amazing fight, and holding Jalen Milroe to these stats is super impressive. That game reminded me a lot of USF almost shocking Alabama last year in real life, and it's good to know that these huge schools aren't invincible. The time has probably come for FIU though, because no matter where that arrow landed, Miami has to go up, so they have to go through them, and this is the first time that the Hurricanes have even had to take the field. They look primed to make a deep run though. They destroyed the Panthers, and that's what Miami was hoping for with this roster. Cam Ward's come in and thrown for 4 touchdowns, while making sure that the Hurricanes secure their spot in the top 30. They're another team that's always set up to make a deep run because of their location, but Notre Dame is not. They're in the middle of everything and they're about to attack up north. I thought that meant Michigan, but I forgot that Michigan State was still here. And the fact that the Spartans are still in this is impressive in itself. No matter their opponent though, they make sure that it is always super close. And that's how they have a 3-point lead with about a minute and a half left in this game. Their defense is going to have to figure out how to stop Riley Leonard one final time though. And I feel like they're doing a decent job of it, but there's just too much time remaining. The only thing going for them is with no timeouts left, they're taking a long time to spike the ball and they're about to float this one over out of bounds. But that was probably best case scenario for Riley Leonard there. If this next pass doesn't go to the sideline, I don't think they're getting a field goal off in time. And it's now 4th and 10, so they have to convert here no matter what, but that's not good. In a normal game, the clock stops on the first down and they could get up to spike the ball, but it's going to run out before they can even get close. And that means Michigan State has picked up yet another win. It's in a rivalry matchup too, the battle for the megaphone. So I know by now that Spartan fans have to be thrilled with their quarterback. He's done just enough every single time to make sure that they stay in this. And besides Oregon, Michigan State's the second biggest territory. I know Michigan fans are probably licking their lips looking at that right now though. And we almost got another Alabama game, but instead it's Wake Forest. This one's actually a pretty close call, but I'd say it touches Liberty instead of Michigan State. And this is a great opportunity for the Demon Deacons to continue to exceed expectations. Just based off their current performance in Imperialism, I feel like they're going to be decent this season, but not good enough to take down the Liberty Flames. As time runs out, you're going to see that they're losing by almost double their score unless they can reach the end zone. And like I said early on, this is an underdog team that could make a deep run. They have a good running back, a good quarterback, and all they have to do is avoid playing too many matchups. Another thing that's not working for Liberty right now is most of the teams around them are pretty good. But again, it all depends on where this wheel lands, and we're headed back to Ohio State. It has been a while since the Buckeyes have had to do anything. And of course, poor Kent State is the next team that they're facing. My expectation going into this is they're going to lose by at least 35, so anything better than that would be a huge step up for the Golden Flashes. Well, they lost by 27, but they put up 21 points on the Buckeyes, and their biggest issue was they just couldn't stop their receivers. It's unreasonable to expect MAC cornerbacks to guard wide receiver university though, so we're left with very few teams that could still have an underdog run. Ohio State's been landed on again, so they're playing in back-to-back games, and this is what we've been waiting for, the actual game. This rivalry matchup right here could decide the winner of this entire Imperialism, and I'm just excited that we actually got this. I was afraid that it would be avoided. With a minute left, just looking at the score, we're about to have an insane finish, and we'll see if Ohio State can come back, but at the moment they're trailing. Will Howard's going to have to figure out how to get the Buckeyes in at least field goal range. They're about to pick up the first, and it's still going to be hard for them to get 3 out of this drive just because they have no timeouts left. But Will Howard's starting to come up clutch. They've rushed up to the line and they're going to spike it with 26 seconds. The Michigan defense can give up about another 10 yards, but anything more than that and we're going to overtime, which I would actually be interested in seeing. To be honest, I couldn't even tell that that last ball was dropped, but it does make it 3rd and 10. Will Howard stepping up, throwing it on the run, and he just threw it out of bounds. I don't know why he did that. I felt like he had a lot of grass in front of him, but he's going to find a receiver, and Ohio State fans might not be happy in a few seconds. We're just looking at the crowd right now as time's about to start winding down, and they are rushing up to the line. 5 seconds left. 4, 3, 2, 1. Will they get the spike off? No, they won't. Ohio State's going down to Michigan, and they've been eliminated. They can't escape getting cheated against the Wolverines. And Donovan Edwards won player of the game. He was a pretty cool dude, so I'm happy to see that. What a result that just was, though. These big schools haven't gotten out until Ohio State, because you've still got Georgia, Alabama, and Oregon in this. But I guess Texas did lose, and Iowa State's playing for the first time. This isn't going to be an ideal matchup for them. They're having to take on the Ducks. But it's just another opportunity for somebody to end Oregon's run. The Cyclones couldn't pull that off. They lost this one by 18. So Dylan Gabriel's getting to celebrate once again, but maybe one day his team won't continue this super deep run. As for now, though, the map just continues to get greener and greener, and we've officially hit the top 25 mark in this Imperialism. I'm not sure how this compares to some of the other ones that I've done, but I feel like there's less small schools that have made it this far, and Marshall's another one that's probably about to get out because they have to play at Penn State. I kinda like how this one's played out compared to past ones though because whenever the rare upsets happen, it feels a lot more rewarding and not as random. This might go down as the biggest beatdown in college football Imperialism history though. 69-7 is absolutely absurd. And I'm sorry if you're a Marshall fan because that was not a good showing. When I saw that it was 45-0 at halftime, I knew it was going to finish ugly. But nothing could have prepared me for a result like that. Now we have Alabama taking the field, and here we go. This could be the time that they finally face Georgia. Never mind, they're headed down south, so they're playing at Florida State. And the Seminoles are definitely capable of knocking out the Crimson Tide. This is exactly what I was hoping for. There's a minute and a half left, left and Alabama's trailing by 1. But if they can put together a good drive, they're going to beat the Seminoles. They've already moved it about 30 or 40 yards down the field. I can't remember exactly where they started from, but that throw from Jalen Milroe was incredible. As far as I'm concerned, they should just hand the ball off 3 times and then try to kick the game-winning field goal. That's exactly what they're doing. Florida State only has 1 timeout left and they just gave up the big run. That's pretty much going to do it. If Alabama wants to take the rest of the clock off, they can. But I can never tell with them, and they just set up for a field goal down the middle. Florida State's going to have a chance, but it's not a good one. And I have never seen a really good kickoff return on this game. I feel like you're much better off just letting it go into the end zone, and it looks like they're about to take a safety. So that's going to be it for DJ and Florida State. They're not going to win, but they put up a really good fight. Jalen Milroe's had multiple close games now. And now that most of Alabama's territory is surrounding Georgia, I'd imagine he has another super tough one coming up soon. There's a lot of areas on this map that are not fun for a team to be a part of. And now that it's landed on Michigan, are we going to get them against Michigan State? Yes, we are. There weren't really many other places for that arrow to point, and we're about to see if the Spartans can keep their run going. Well, I think this was inevitable, but once you all see the final score, I don't think it's how Michigan State wanted to go out. And it was bad. I'm pretty sure it was 44-13. Yup, there it is. They just didn't play well. But the Spartans made it a lot farther than they would have expected, so they can still be proud of that run. It's certainly painful to go out to your in-state rival like that, though, and the wheel has landed on Georgia. What direction are we headed in? There it is. We're finally getting the matchup between them and the Crimson Tide, and this is another one of those games that whoever survives this could very well just win the entire thing. With about 2 minutes left, it's going to be another tight finish, and we've been getting a lot of these recently. Carson Beck has to convert on 3rd and 10, though, and instead he throws an interception to Alabama. That might just seal the game if they're able to take it back for a pick 6, and I think they are. Keon Sabb probably just delivered the dagger, and Georgia fans cannot believe it. It's definitely over if they can't pick up this 4th and 8, and it's dropped. So Alabama is going to win another game, and Jalen Milroe just seems to keep getting it done. That game, it was really his defense, but at least he had scored a decent amount of points prior to that play, and I feel like as of recently, we've lost a lot of the big teams. Once again, one like Michigan's going to have to play, and it's against Penn State, so this is another matchup between 2 teams that could win it all. If they're all going to beat up on each other, we could still get an underdog winner. And all it takes is one huge upset, which is definitely possible. I figured in this one, we'd at least get to see a cool ending, but it wasn't even close. And Alex Orji went off for over 300 yards, 5 touchdowns, and a good completion percentage. It's shocking to me how much Michigan just dominated on the road, but they waited for the right time to start playing this well, and now just looking at the rest of this map, with only 20 total teams left, they're in a really good spot. From here on out, you just want your team to avoid getting landed on. And it just went over Hawaii, who still hasn't had to play. Instead, we're getting another Big Ten matchup with Indiana going to Michigan. And could the Hoosiers be the team that ends the Wolverines' run? I would assume probably not, but you never know. And this one wasn't even worth seeing one play of. Michigan continues to score a ton of points. And when you pair a super solid offense with one of, if not the best defense in college football 25, you're going to win a ton. They share a pretty big border with Alabama now, so that could be coming. But until then, Memphis might get lost in the mix as well. And we're headed straight back to Michigan Stadium for another game. One of these days, I should track how many wins teams get before they get knocked out, because sometimes there's colleges that win like 8 or 9 matchups but still don't win the entire thing. That might be crazy to think about, but we could witness it with Michigan, because with a minute left in this game, you can tell that they're going to win. But all of this is for nothing if they don't take home the championship. I really don't know how they're doing this well offensively, because they're supposed to only have an 82 overall offense, but it just makes it another round where they've taken a little bit more territory, and they're hoping that the wheel can finally avoid them, which it does. We haven't been out west in a little bit, especially to California, but we're not staying in mainland USA because that arrow points out into the Pacific. Hawaii's made quite the run while doing absolutely nothing, and they could very well be a one and done team. I don't know why they gave them this generic stadium either. It's way too big for what they play in, and having that many fans there didn't seem to make a difference at all. They tried their best to make the score look respectable at the end, but it's another blowout, and that's a shame because we're getting to the end of Imperialism. I already know I'm going to want to run this back, even though I said I won't for a while. So maybe if we hit like 10,000 likes, I'll do it again, and poor Texas State is going to have to go on the road at Oregon. I would be stunned if they're the team that upsets the Ducks, and this is just another case of upsets not being that frequent. The best teams don't even keep it close with the smaller schools. It should be that way, but I'm coming from NCAA Football 14 where that was way different. Just taking a look at this map, either Oregon, Michigan, or Alabama's gotta win the entire thing, and I'll 100% be rooting for every other team besides them. That includes Miami, who really only has one place that they can go, which is straight up into Alabama territory. Their location alone has taken them all the way to the end, but they're really good on on paper too, so it's a shame this had to be played on the road. It was about time that we got a tight battle though, because with 55 seconds left, Miami's driving down the field. They're only trailing by 3. And if Cam Ward can just get them into the end zone, they'd win this entire thing. This ball was apparently dropped though. I couldn't tell. It looked like he hung on. And that means it's 3rd and 10 where Cam Ward goes for it, but it's swatted down. They're gonna have to settle for a field goal. And they've given Jalen Milroe plenty of time to get the game winner, but I think he missed. There's actually no way that that kicker just shanked it. And how does that even happen? Of course it's Miami that chokes. That was literally the last thing that I was expecting to happen there. And somehow Jalen Milroe keeps on surviving. It's actually getting ridiculous for Miami fans. They can't show their faces in public anymore because they were put in a great spot to win that game and somehow they completely blew it. I have sympathy for anybody that roots for the Hurricanes. Alabama's been landed on, and this wheel is going to take us to the north. We're actually getting an Alabama-Michigan match before all these other teams have to play them, and that really opens it up for small schools trying to make an underdog run. No matter who wins this one, there's only 2 big contenders that'll be standing after it, and all I can really say if you're a Michigan fan is I'm sorry. No matter what happens on this 4th and 9, you all are trailing by so much it doesn't even matter, and after recovering the onside kick, the Crimson Tide are taking it home. They won this one by a ton, but they've had so many other games that have been relatively close that shouldn't have been, so I don't understand. It's safe to say that they show up to play when it matters, but because they're touching so many other colleges, they're gonna have to play in a ton of games. For example, there's a good chance that Mississippi State has to face them, and there it is, the arrow pointed up north. They even get the home field advantage to make it easier, and what a surprise, we got ourselves another blowout. If somebody finally beats them, that's gonna feel like the greatest win in the world, because at this point, I'm sick of seeing this guy win player of the game. And how are they gonna lose the greatest coach of all time, but still dominate everything like nothing changed? There's only 13 schools left, there's not many more chances to lose. And would you look at that, Boston College has made it all the way to the end. Nobody's claimed Maine either yet, so they're just gonna get to take it. And it truly wouldn't be an Imperialism without them making a run to the end. We're headed back to USC though, that means Alabama's not playing. And instead, it's gonna be Fresno State. This should actually be a good matchup. We might have one that's not a blowout, and I really just want an entertaining one to watch again. Guess what though, it wasn't even a contest. USC scored 38, Fresno State had 7, so we've hopped into another blowout, and this time Deuce Robinson won player of the game. I could be wrong, but I'm just saying if they played in real life, it would definitely be closer than that. But that's only because I think Fresno State's the best team in the Mountain West. If they're not, then yeah, it makes sense for them to get blown out by 31, and we're about to see if Arizona can be the team that beats Oregon. Everyone's taking their shots at the Giants to try to take them down, and it was about time we had a game like this. Noah Fafita's trying to pull off the upset. His team's only trailing by 2, and this could actually be it for the Ducks if they can't keep the Wildcats out of field goal range. Short passes like that though certainly aren't helping, and they just spike the ball, making it 3rd and 6 where they're going to pick it up and go to the 46. All they need is a little bit more, and they're really trying to get it now. But I can't say if this is enough for the Wildcats kicker to hit from here. They're going to spike it, I would assume, and then just send him out there hoping for the best. After watching what happened to that Miami kicker, I can't guarantee that this will go in. I didn't even know kickers could miss, but that was wide, and the Ducks have somehow survived for another game. I really thought that was it. Dylan Gabriel was about to be out, but instead the Ducks just can't do no wrong. They're going to keep on expanding all the land they have. By this point, the underdog story's looking less and less likely, and Iowa's probably going to be the next team to challenge these schools. Alright, the arrow's pointing down towards Alabama. I also just realized that I left this the color Michigan State, so the map's been fixed and it's time to see the final top 10 team. You know what, if I was able to pull this upset off, I will never joke about their offense again, and this is not good. I'm in a spot where they could pull it off and then I'd never be able to make another joke. I know I said I wanted some of the favorites to lose just to have a unique winner, but now I'm regretting that, because I make an Iowa offense joke every other video. For whatever reason though, they're actually able to move the ball against the Crimson Tide, and that's strange to me because if I'm remembering right, they scored 0 points against Michigan and Tennessee last year. Yeah, I'm just getting in the jokes now. They also scored 0 points against Penn State, but that's enough of that. I will root for them to get into the end zone here, and they're super close. I really want to see this map go to chaos. Come on, you have somebody open on the right side of the field. Even I saw it. And there's actually no way that they just gave them credit for a touchdown there. They're saying Seth Anderson crossed the line. Let's see if he did. This ball is going to be caught, and yeah, there's no way. I don't know if the refs can challenge anything whenever I'm spectating though, and they can't. Alabama has 17 seconds to respond. Some of that time's going to be drained by trying to return this kickoff, and I would say that Iowa's strong suits their defense, so I would expect them to not give up a huge play. What do you know, Jalen Milroe to the rescue. They're probably about to get into field goal range, but he looks lost, and there's only 6 seconds left on the clock. I would assume they're going for the Hail Mary at this point. they're just chucking up one final prayer and it is going to be dropped. I couldn't really tell because of the shadows, but Iowa has taken down Alabama. And this is so weird. I said I can't make any more jokes about their offense. They've done a good thing. They've made the ending of this Imperialism even more entertaining. And this is the best they've ever done in Imperialism, so good that I had to change their color to yellow. I'm proud of the Hawkeyes right now. They made it into the top 10, but now they have to maintain that, and we'll see who's playing next. It's going to be Colorado State attacking Oregon, and that means we're probably not getting the Colorado State rivalry in this Imperialism. It only would have been possible if they somehow pulled off this upset, but they just got blown out by the Ducks like most teams are. They're the final boss of championship favorites that are still in this Imperialism, and outside of them, anybody else winning wouldn't make much sense. Like if Temple somehow pulled this off, I would be super impressed, but they're going to have to start winning games like this one at Iowa. The thing about the Hawkeyes though is there's no guarantee that they dominate, because they could have a bad game on one side of the ball, but I'm being careful here. I'm not saying which side, so I'm keeping it respectful. And look at that. They scored 38 points while holding their opponent to 0. That is what's scary about this team. We all know their defense is going to show up. If Cade McNamara is playing like this, everyone else is in trouble. And I can't believe that this is the team that might actually win the entire thing. I just didn't think the map would look like this with 8 teams remaining. And keep in mind, teams like Colorado are still on the wheel too. They just got landed on, so they could be in some trouble, especially since they're playing against the one and only Oregon. But we all know the EA's inflated the 4 and 8 teams overall a little bit, and the only reason for that is because they do have 2 of the best players in the country. I think it's safe to say neither team's playing for clicks this time around though, because the Buffaloes are actually putting up a good fight. They're only trailing by 7 with a minute left in this game. Shedeur Sanders only has to get them about another 50 yards down the field, and if they can score a touchdown, they'd send it to OT. The pressure is on a little bit though, with no timeouts remaining. They have to be a little bit quicker than this. They've already gotten it down to 42 seconds, and it looks like he might take a sack. Now the ball definitely came loose there too, but he must have been marked down before. And just throw this one up to Travis Hunter. What was that? I don't know why he dumped it off to Dallin Hayden. He wasn't picking up that 4th and 13 on his own, but what that means is Oregon has won another game. I am getting sick and tired of saying the Ducks have picked up another good result, and it's looking like they might just run through the rest of the teams on this wheel. USC's up next, but they're gonna have to play on the road, and I know the arrow's pointing out here, but there's no other team that they can touch besides the Ducks. If anybody's gonna beat them, this might be the best chance, and I still wouldn't expect this to go well for the Trojans. Well, it looks like it's going just like the Colorado game did, and that means the Trojans have the ball with over a minute left trying to get down the field, but after not picking up that 3rd and 10, they didn't send the punting unit out there on the field. They're going for it on 4th down, and they've converted. I still don't understand why the camera keeps flipping directions like they're going a different direction on the field, but at least from the looks of it, they're about to tie this one up. They're super close, and all they need is a few more yards. I would expect them to keep it on the ground, which they do. They've punched it in, and could this be the game that Oregon finally loses? I'm not praying on their downfall or anything. I enjoy seeing the Ducks do well, but I do believe it makes for far more entertaining content when you have no idea which team is going to come out on top of Imperialism. Everybody has a chance, and I think we've got that with this college football game. Dillon Gabriel, plenty of time in the pocket, is going to get them a 1st down, but the Ducks still haven't reached field goal range. This time they're going to throw an interception. USC has the ball, and they're also moving around defenders. Oh my gosh, this is actually it. The Trojans might have done it. Oregon fans can't believe it. Their time has finally come, and all USC has to do is not mess this up. Just run the ball on the ground, make a defender miss. This is quite the showing. There's no reason the Ducks should be happy at this moment, and the best thing Oregon could do would be letting USC get into the end zone, which they seem to be trying to do. That one defender just ruined it though. He pushed the running back out, and now they're gonna stop him. I don't know what Oregon's thinking, but USC's running another play. They're not kicking a field goal. And what can Dillon Gabriel do with 15 seconds on the clock? You just gotta send up a prayer, maybe step up and throw it out of bounds. But for a second I thought he was about to run. 2nd and 10 now. I mean, they're lucky the clock stopped. He should just heave up a prayer. What are you doing? That's it. USC's actually pulled this off. I'm calling it an upset. I think they finished like 8-4 this year, and maybe Miller Moss is the answer they wanted at quarterback. I still can't believe they wasted a talent like Caleb Williams, but again, we'll see how this season goes for them. And just looking at the map, I completely forgot SMU was there. Liberty made it this far, and then Boston College is just chilling up there. Ohio also has zero business being on this wheel, but at least for now they are, and the wheel did take us to Iowa. I thought we'd have to wait for this matchup, but it's going to be the Hawkeyes against the Trojans, and it just blows my mind these are the 2 best teams remaining. This is actually insane. This might be the best ending we've had to an Imperialism, and this is set up for a great finish to end this game too. Iowa's offense is going to have to prove themselves. There's only 35 seconds left on the clock, and dropping that ball is not good, but they still have a chance. They have all 3 of their timeouts left, and they just picked up the 1st. Cade McNamara is going to have to pull off the miracle though. He slings it down the field and they made the catch out of bounds. That was an amazing throw. Now they just need a little bit more and they are going for it. It was swatted down, but that was exactly what they needed. And here we go, 2nd and 10, 22 seconds left, 2 timeouts. They should score, but if they make a couple mistakes, that's what's going to cost them. You can only catch the ball in bounds one more time now before you reach the end zone, and that felt like a forced throw there. We'll see what they go with on this next play. I see the flat is open, and they very quickly got out of bounds. I'm not sure how helpful that was, but they still have time for 2 more plays, and you just can't take all the time remaining here. I mean, they just tried to give the ball back to the Trojans, but they couldn't hold on to the ball, so it comes down to one final play. This is it. Iowa's reputation on the line. Their offense has come out to play in this Imperialism. They've pulled off some upsets, and Cade is about to take a sack. What an anticlimactic ending to this game. You know, I was actually rooting for the Hawkeyes to pull that off there, but they just failed. And at the moment, it looks like USC is going to win the entire thing. They literally control almost the entire United States, but that means they're probably going to have to play everybody else left. And that's where things get interesting because there's no guarantee they win each of these games. For example, Boston College actually has a solid roster, but somehow they've avoided playing again because this tiny little state was unclaimed. I swear, Boston College just has the luckiest location in the game. And USC getting landed on is kinda interesting. With the arrow going up like this, they're not going near college, they're gonna take the final unclaimed state. So this time around, whoever the wheel lands on should have to actually play, and it's Liberty. I don't think there's any reason for me to even spin this wheel, because no matter what, as you can see, they're boxed in by USC's colors, and they have to go on the road to try and continue their run. Well, this is an interesting situation with about a minute left, because Liberty's down on the Trojans' 5-yard line, but they do find themselves down by 7. Even if they make the extra point, they're giving USC the ball back. And Miller Moss is going to have a perfect opportunity to respond back. 58 seconds still, 2 timeouts, but they ran the ball. And I'll be interested to see what they draw up on 3rd and 4. They might be giving it back to Liberty. The Flames are in a spot where they could win this game. All they have to do is get into field goal range. They didn't fair catch that. And with 24 seconds left on the clock, Caden Salter's going to roll out, sling it, and find a receiver that's streaking down to the 27. I think the Flames have actually done it. They should be able to kick a field goal from here. And I can't believe what we have just witnessed. USC has fumbled away their great opportunity. Here we go. Field goal for the win for a chance to be in the top 4, and Liberty's kicker is going to do it. I know I predicted they could make a run from the start, but I was not expecting them to actually do it. But everything has worked out for them the way that it needed to. If you would have told me these would be the 4 teams standing at the end of this Imperialism, I would have not believed you at all. But this is why I love filming these videos so much, and Ohio finally has to play. I'm pretty sure everything goes through Liberty now that they took over all that land, so we didn't even need to spin the arrow because the Bobcats are surrounded. What's crazy is as a 73 overall, they could make the top 3, and Liberty better be on top of it here where they get to play at home. It might not matter though, because with 2 minutes left, they find themselves down by 5, and they just threw an interception straight to Ohio. I have no idea what Caden Salter was thinking there, but now all the Bobcats have to do is pick up one more first down, and they can seal their win. This is actually such a sad way for the Flames to go out if they really lose this game, and it all comes down to this 3rd and 6. Ohio's throwing the ball. They almost took a sack, but instead they got it out and stopped the clock. They've given Liberty plenty of time to drive down the field, but they should have an 8-point lead. And ever since Miami, I've been watching those field goals. Each one I have to wait and see what the refs signal. I need to know if they go in. And it is nice to know that kickers can miss. That actually makes me feel a lot better. Liberty seems to be collapsing under pressure though. They can't believe that they're about to lose to Ohio, and Caden Salter's just trying to make a play on the ground. It's now 3rd and 5. He has plenty of time to sling it, and they're also going to get out of bounds. That was arguably the most important play of this entire drive because it gave them a chance to take a quick break, and now they're going for a 20-30 yard play. The comeback chances are still very alive because of that, and we'll see what they draw up next. The Ohio defense better get in some pressure, and they do. It's not looking very good for the Flames anymore, and they've rushed back to the line to spike the ball with about 6 or 5 seconds left. It all comes down to this right here. I'd assume they're just going to throw it up to the end zone. The Bobcats went with man-to-man coverage, but they also had some dudes back to get the pick. They can go ahead and celebrate. They've gotten their big win, and I don't think that Liberty fan can believe it. That is such an unbelievable way to go out after beating USC, but it's always been about Parker Navarro. He's carried them. It's hard to believe at one point in this video I thought we'd get the most realistic winners and results, but I love how this has turned out, and one of these teams won't be in the championship. Boston College is going to have to play for a spot in it, and they've no more free states to claim. They're going on the road to play the Bobcats. They're literally facing a 66 overall overall offense and defense. So the fact that EA even gave Ohio a 73 overall team was very, very generous. I don't know why they seem to play so well in sim though. They have a lead with 2 minutes left. And Boston College is on a 3rd and 10 where Castellanos is going to not fumble. It looked like he just lost grip of the football. And it still caused them to lose a lot of yards, making it 4th and 17 where Ohio almost gave it up. Now they're just trying to get a first down though. They should be able to do it. And they're just 2 yards away from sealing their spot in the championship. I think that's it. As long as they don't do something dumb like throw a pass or commit a penalty or there's an injury timeout, they have taken down the Eagles. And they're out there in victory formation. This is actually it. I can't believe what we're witnessing. This is a 66 overall offense and defense. But overall means nothing in this game. They are in the championship. And Parker has carried them all the way. This has to be the best underdog run we've ever had in Imperialism. I don't think anything else has come close. And who gets home field advantage here is actually a super big deal. There is one state on the map that's still wide open, but it's not going to matter. The wheel lands on SMU. They're the ones attacking, and Ohio's going to get to defend their home territory for the championship. This type of chaos literally makes me want to start filming another one right now. And here we go. Will the Bobcats take home the Imperialism win? The fact that the MAC teams even gotten to this point alone is incredible. And I think I can say we're witnessing history. The odds of something like this happening again are so slim. Approaching halftime, it looks like SMU's going to go up by 7, but Ohio's going to have a chance to drive down the field and respond back. They actually did pretty quickly too. And by the 3rd quarter, I think it's best if we just hop in and watch from this point forward. Both teams have scored another touchdown, making it 21-all. SMU's about to get another. And this is where the Bobcats defense really needs to step up. They have to hold them, but it seems like they're not going to. And I'm not going to act like I'm not rooting for the Bobcats. I want to see them pull off this upset. This would go down as the craziest Imperialism ever. I think it already does. But it's just nuts to me that they're actually competing to win the entire thing right now. This is a 66 overall offense driving down the field against SMU. They just missed a tackle. And the fact that the sim spectating is actually working in this game makes this so much more pleasant. See, watch after this play. It's going to instantly jump into the next one the way it's supposed to work. And that makes me want to see more things that are going on. I don't have to stare at some blank screen for 15 seconds. Ohio is going to almost get a first, making it 3rd and 1 where they just hand it off, and they are continuing to push it. Now they're going to do the same thing where they fake out with the play action, take their little check down, and this has been such a solid drive. They haven't forced anything at all. They're just taking whatever the defense gives them, and they're doing it again. I'd expect them to keep it on the ground on 3rd and 1 just because that seems to be what they've done the rest of this drive, and that's exactly what happened. But if you've been keeping a close eye on the clock, you can tell that we're about to enter the 4th quarter, and they're about to enter the end zone. They even have a cool little celebration with this helmet, and here we go. It is time to watch this entire 4th quarter. Just looking at the 2 quarterbacks, they've had a pretty even game, and here on 1st and 10, the Mustangs are just going back to the running game. They have no reason to throw the ball or rush it. They probably have the better offensive line versus the Bobcats, and I don't even know why I'm saying probably. I know for a fact that they have a better offensive line than the defensive line they're facing. They've already burned through a minute of clock, and then with the jet touch pass, they should have opened up the field a lot, which they did. So if you're rooting for Ohio with me to pull off this upset, they're going to need to force a stop here, and that's a good hit. That's what the Bobcats needed. If this is a run, though, they're probably about to pick up a first down. And I saw that one coming from a mile away. They just didn't have enough people in the box. 2nd and goal, they're going to hand it off again. This whole drive's been runs. But Preston Stone's going to be forced to make a read on 3rd and goal, which he does, and it's dropped. Ohio has held SMU to a field goal, which they should obviously hit. But no, they're saying he missed it. I can't even believe it. I couldn't tell. This replay doesn't show it great. So I've backed out. We have to look at this. The kicker just decided to shank it to the left. It didn't go in enough. We literally have a situation where Ohio could win this game on this drive. So they better not mess this up now. They're going back to the run. That's what worked for them. But the pressure's on when you get to a 3rd and 3. SMU sent a bit of a blitz, and he doesn't make the catch. Ohio really needed to hold on to the ball there. Now they have to trust their defense to get another stop. I'm not sure if that's going to happen. They literally just had their golden opportunity. But at least some of the players are very frustrated. You can tell that they're hitting hard. 3rd and 9, it's a chance to force a 3 and out right back to them. I did see that open underneath, and he gets the first. But it took Preston Stone a second to see that same read. The halfback screen to the left side of the field gets them 5. And now they're going back to the air where they're going to throw an interception to the Bobcats. Wait, this is it. All he has to do is take it back to the crib. Preston Stone trying to chase him down. And I think Ohio has won this Imperialism. All they need is like 1 first down. SMU should be burning their timeouts right now. Ohio should be chewing clock at the moment. And from the looks of it, they're just going to score way too soon. They better not only get a field goal out of this. That would be a major issue. And there you have it. The Bobcats are up by 7. I don't know how we've gotten here, but this is the Imperialism Championship. And a MAC school is 79 seconds away from Auburn taking it home. Literally anybody can win. I promise, if SMU somehow comes back from this point, I am going to be so disappointed. Preston Stone literally has infinite time back there in the pocket, and taking that sack's going to cost them. They have to go the length of the field in the next 35 seconds. I mean, everybody's taking forever to get back to the line of scrimmage. We'll see what they can do on this 3rd and 16. You pretty much just got to send it. And he has so much time once again. What took him so long to make a read? Oh no. Oh no, that's what took him so long. He had somebody open, he was patient, and all of a sudden the Bobcats are in a little bit of trouble. They have to make sure they don't give up any big plays. They're still just sending 3 players. I mean, this is infinite time back there in the pocket, and I hope they try to go for the 2-point conversion. They actually are. Wait a second. I was going to say their kicker has missed from short distances before, but SMU wants the win in Imperialism, and they're not going to get it. We have just witnessed one of the greatest underdog runs ever on this channel. And if they don't recover this onside kick, it is all over. All Ohio has to do is fall on the football. They have won Imperialism. There was no shot that this team was supposed to be the one that just came out on top. Like, I cannot believe this is what has happened. But we have to put some respect on the Ohio Bobcats name because they're our new Imperialism champion. If a MAC school can win it, any school can win it. Ricky Hunt Jr. is the main reason, the freshman. And this is the type of run that we're probably never going to witness again. If you've made it to this point in the video, of course, you've witnessed Imperialism history. And if we can smash 10,000 likes on this video, I'll start filming another Imperialism. If you're not already subscribed, make sure you do. And also make sure to check out some of my other content as well.